Well, yes, hello. I am James Fodens and today it's the WNR559. It's WrestleMania review. Incredibly, this is the 10th WrestleMania review on the WNR podcast. But luckily, I'm not alone. I have the pleasure to be joined by the entire WNR team up first bump side for every WWE and AEW show. It's a fantastic Jaxie Scarlett. How's it going, Jaxie?
Hello, hello. It has been a week, ups and downs, very tired, but we got there in the end, got all the way through WrestleMania, ready to talk about it. Strap in, guys, because it's going to be a long one.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, we said on the kickoff show that this is your fifth WrestleMania. I mean, what are your excitement levels for this compared to the others?
I think there were a lot of sort of most anticipated sort of matches that I was incredibly interested in. So, you know, I think in a way, I was greatly anticipating what was going to be coming out of either night. But there was also a lot of like sort of nervousness about where things could go storyline wise for a certain few matches. So we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we do. We do. Well, up next, our resident NXT expert and New Japan demigod. It is Monty. Monty, you have just one thing on your mind, I think, for this weekend, sir.
What is that?
And that is to end the streak. Maybe it means more to me than you, I guess.
We'll see. It probably meant more than me at a time. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see how that went. But anyway, uh, my only thing I gotta say to intro this out is you don't have to answer this question, guys. But what are these two? Which one of these two things happened to me? Between the last time we've been recording. Did I go see Kendrick Lamar live all the way up in Dallas at AT&T Stadium, or did I sleep in my car? I won't answer those questions. You can decide for yourself.
All right, send us an email, podcast@gmail.com. And no, what will we guess, everybody? I reckon, are we saying car? I think we are.
The answer is both.
I'm gonna go with the car. I'm going with the car.
You go with the car. Hang on, sorry.
Yeah, sure.
The answer is both.
Both.
We drove all the way to Dallas to Kendrick Lamar, and because it was so late once the show was over, we just slept in the car and then came back in the morning.
Well, at least you're well rested. I hope you enjoyed it, though. I hope it was worth it.
The show was definitely worth it, and my SUV is surprisingly more comfortable than you would expect.
That's good. That's good. Weirdly enough, I went to a Travis Scott show recently, but we shouldn't talk about that. Maybe later, who knows?
Yeah, maybe keep that off the card.
Well, anyway, last but by no means least, my little buttercup has the sweetest smile. Dear little buttercup, won't you stay a while? Come with me where moonbeams paint the sky, and you and I might linger in the sweet by and by. Dear little buttercup, with your eyes so blue. Oh, little buttercup, you're a dream come true. You and I will settle down in a cottage built for two. So, dear little buttercup, sweet little buttercup, my little buttercup, I love you. It's my little buttercup. It's Gina. How's it going?
Hey, I am sweet and I am James's buttercup. Welcome on in, guys. I look forward to this one.
Yeah. Well, I guess we are the four amigos. Are you excited for WrestleMania weekend, Gina?
For sure. I'm tired, but I'm also excited for it. It's going to be a long one, so stick with us, guys.
Yeah, this might be Hall of Fame long, so we do apologise, but I've got a shed load. I've got kickoffs, countdowns, Hall of Fame's coming out of every orifice, and the actual event itself, and so much more. We're going to start, but sad news to start. Former football player and wrestler Steve Mongo McMichael passed away on Wednesday, 4 years since his ALS diagnosis. He was 67. Monty, I think we've spoken about Mongo's fight, but Sadly, he lost it. He will be remembered, of course, in the NFL and in WWE, probably more for the American football.
Yeah, he's a Super Bowl champion. 85 Chicago Bears. So he's a real legend in Chicago. And I don't know, man. I always liked Mongo when I watched WCW back. I get it. He wasn't like somebody mentioned when I was reading online. He wasn't the smoothest. He was clumsy a little bit, but on commentary, him and Bobby the Brain used to crack me the hell up. Just how kind of off he was, kind of like just off. Let's just say off. Like he would say some of the craziest stuff. But then Bobby, who is just an absolute legend, also rest in peace to him too, would know exactly what to say to they kind of played off each other really well. And then you had Shivani being Shivani and Mike Tenay there sometimes. So way back in the day, or if you had Larry Zbyszko too, like those were pretty good. Or when Bischoff was there, those were pretty good times, if you ask me, for WCW. When they were on commentary together and breaking down a lot of acting. Of course, he had Four Horsemen in WCW, so I know again that he wasn't the greatest wrestler or whatever like that, and he didn't always make sense when he spoke. But I always got a kick out of Steve McMichael. So it's kind of sad to read that Mongo lost the battle, but I saw a lot of people praising him and showing love and paying their respects. So when we lose one of the members of our community as wrestling fans and wrestlers and all that and pundits, it's always cool to kind of hear different stories and hear people talk about how much they respected Mongo. So it was unfortunate, but I loved Mongo growing up, and then like I said, watching back WCW clips, I always got a kick out of him. So rest in peace, man. It really sucks when again somebody that kind of was one of those voices in the background of your childhood that you didn't even really know at the time. For me personally, and then getting to know him and then figuring out he was on a legendary football team as the '85 Bears. Like as an American football fan, as I was growing up, that just made him even cooler. So yeah, man. Rest in peace.
Without a doubt, he will be missed. Let's get to WrestleMania week then. We start with the Pat McAfee show, which was Friday, the 18th of April. We did have the WrestleMania stage reveal. I mean, Jaxie, talk about being your fifth Mania. What do you think of this year's stage? Were you impressed? Because I was just like, all right.
Yeah, I don't really have much to say on it. I didn't really notice much. It was just a stage.
It didn't blow your mind. Think of the production,
I
the
don't really
hours.
think I really just think that I focused on the wrestling that was in the ring. I don't think I
Sure.
focused on the ring once to
Oh,
notice
yeah.
anything. So maybe you're asking the wrong person. Please correct me if Monty or Gina felt like there was anything special about it, but I didn't.
Oh, no. We haven't got time. They hated it. All right. We've got to move on.
Okay. Okay, let's move on.
Pat was in WWE well with his normal team. One dressed up as Terry and got booed out the building. The guest, Michael Cole, Roman Reigns, Stone Cold, Rhea Ripley, Triple H. Takeaways, Cole might have an unhealthy obsession with Pat, but then again, this did play out. They were just ass kissing Roman. I mean, Roman is cool enough, though. In retrospect, maybe Steve shouldn't have started drinking Friday morning. I mean, I love Austin, but this couldn't be more of a redneck chat about shooting things. Do you know what I mean? Ripley was there. She said she will start Sunday. Triple H said he didn't give a fuck about all the marks. He said he created everything apparently, but he couldn't do it without his team. Gina, I watched this. I mean, I know you probably didn't, but I mean, what are your thoughts on Pat? Because he seems to be like ingrained now with the shows even beforehand, and I still think it's quite a big deal considering it's on ESPN and it's basically free advertising for WrestleMania.
Yeah, it is. I think they like how popular Pat is and capitalize on the different platforms that he is popular with. So I definitely think they take advantage of that. But
Yeah.
I like Pat.
You like Pat? Good.
Yeah, he does not annoy me.
WrestleMania kickoff, cold and pat. Nice setting, bit windy on the mics if I'm complaining. Drew McIntyre was serenaded by the fans. Drew, they kept saying he just killed it. Just let the man cook, you know. Cole wanted to talk shit. Priest tried this cheap shot, Drew. Lucky for us, Jason Jordan was there to calm things down. But Jackson, it's weird that this feud's kind of heated up recently between Priest and McIntyre as we got to WrestleMania, and we've complained maybe the other feuds haven't.
Yeah, I think that this was definitely one of the sort of like most slept upon in terms of anticipated matches on the match card. And I think, like, you know, as we go further on into a deep discussion, you'll find to be pleasantly surprised as to like how great like from 0 to 100 this feud really got in such a short a time. But yeah, this was definitely most slept upon before entering sort of WrestleMania talk. And if you bear with us when we discuss it, you'll kind of realize why this became such a big deal and like really talked about after.
Yeah. Up next was Braun. It's his first WrestleMania, and in Las Vegas, the same place that his uncle and his dad debuted way back at WrestleMania 9 as well. I thought that was cool. We got the Steiner math as well, which is a nice touch. New Day next. Nice to see them giving some time. They got their mics cut. An early shut the fuck up chance. Ripley was next. Blair joined her. Ripley was more liked. Io arrived, and she's sick of being forgotten. Pat and Cole mocked Gunther for being. They said they were unbeaten at WrestleMania, and he wasn't. Jey Uso looked like a Jedi. Honestly, but the way he came out with a hood over him and shit like that, man, that's great. This finished the show. Yeet. If you're wondering where Roman or Cena were, don't panic. Reigns was busy telling the world he's a Trump supporter, and John was confessing his undying love for Vince. So, Monty, not a lot going on there, you know?
Nope. It did. It was, again, I think if you are the PR person for WWE, either you're getting a lot of love because they made a shit ton of money anyway, or you're probably fired because they for some reason this was the week of WrestleMania was the time to highlight your support for president, and for some reason John had to reiterate what I think we already kind of knew. If you remember his initial statement, that's the thing about John. Like, John, you already kind of told us that you love that man no matter what, kinda. You know, so like reiterating it and then saying I'm not trying to discredit the the ladies' feet. I'm like, I'm sorry, John. If somebody was a victim of someone and you say, hey, I know what he accused of, but I still love this man. All right, I'm sorry. You can't sit around and be. You can't say both sides of it. You can't be like, well, I'm not trying to discredit this. Like, I hate the game some of the wrestlers play about the situation. In my opinion, I understand things are not black and white. No one is saying you got to throw away the 20 some years of a relationship with somebody. I know that's what the internet wants you to do when somebody does something wrong, but I'm not crazy enough to believe that. But I do believe that in a week like this, where you're main event WrestleMania, why couldn't you shift the conversation somewhere else? Same thing wrong. Why did we have to go that far to even talk about it to that extent? What's the point? Why now? What's the point of having these famous people support? You got people giving the damn president the Ula Fala. Why? Why now? That's what my problem with all of the cross promotion. Maybe that's all it was about. Because again, at the end of the day, even though I'm not a Trump supporter, can't stand a lot about it. They know if it's one thing like this, we'll talk about it in a minute. James, Triple H people. Sean mentioned Triple H's business sense. Well, if there's anything about it, is guess what? Trump supporters got money too. Them people, as a matter of fact, is a big part of their fan base, whether people want to admit it or not. They love wrestling too. So I get it from that standpoint. I just don't understand why do we have to be so polarizing when we're trying to hype up a show. But at the same time, maybe in their mind, we want them to watch too. So hey guys, this makes you extra invested, right? Because I love the president. I don't know. I don't agree with it, helping, but I'm just saying maybe that's their logic. I disagree with it, but that's their logic.
What's interesting though, sorry, I don't want to talk over you, but the fact Triple H was saying as well, like the thing about wrestling, it's not like two teams in a sport going against each other. Everybody's on the same side, and yet they're doing something like this before their biggest event of the year. It just seems a bit, But anyway, we've got too much, right? We're focused on that enough. we got Hall of Fame, red carpet. Jackie Redmond, Peter Rosenberg, and Saxon spoke to talent. Karen Cross was there because of respect, but he was not in a good mood. LA Knight's partner didn't want to be on camera. Don't blame her. I love the fact Nakamura arrived with Io and Kari. X-Puck was interviewed. Do you know Crack fucked him right up? Titus brought his sons. Tiff was with Kaiser. Ludwig was a full babyface. Jey Uso dressed in black. Gunther was there, but I couldn't see Ginny. I did have a look. Charlotte looked like a queen. I wonder if they invited Andrade. They probably didn't. Orton was rushed to talk to get to Triple H. Stephanie had to go at everybody because she wanted the family there to unveil a new Triple H statue. And no, Gina, not the one that you think. It's actually like a bronze one, like the dusty one. Did it? Obviously, we saw the two statues, I guess, were on show. One of them was absolutely fucking ridiculous as well. Good. Ford said that
I don't think I saw them.
You didn't say, honestly, Google, I don't know what the kids do nowadays. Go just search for Triple H statue. And there's one, looks like the worst Madame Tussauds one ever. It is.
Oh my gosh, I will look it up.
I did actually ask myself, like, is this really necessary? Is a statue actually necessary? Like, yeah, that's the only question I've got from that.
The best line of the so-called pre-show of the Hall of Fame was Montez Ford saying, "People can look at the menu, but only he knows what Bianca Belair tastes like." All right, we're meant to be a PG show, mate. All right. Main show, Cole and Pat hosted. Do you know what? I'm getting sick of these fucking two already. Cole says he prefers the soundtrack, but Jaxie, I'm going to ask you this. This is not a knock, but when you think of memories in WWE, do you hear Michael Cole's commentary?
I mean, when I think about the Attitude Era, like I just and Michael Cole, I just think about like his like sort of like team up with Taz on like Heat. So like, I mean, I wouldn't say he's ultimately the worst. But I feel like, you know, if we're comparing it to the likes of like JR or Jerry Lawler, I don't think like you know, it's been adequate. I'll say that.
Yeah, that's what he wants to hear. You've had an adequate career, but again, that's what makes JR.
It has been good, but it's just like it's not been as what is. I feel like it sounds rude to say like it's not been as impactful. It has, as like the likes of like JR and stuff, but just in a way where it's like a lot more subtle. So it's not like, yeah, he's had the best like run. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, there's no calls like, "Oh my god, he's been broken in half" and stuff like that. But again, I think that's
Michael
what JR.
never left, so y'all might as well get ready to call him the greatest of all time. So
I know. They're doing it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, he already the greatest. He never left. So
yeah. Anyway, onto the Hall of Fame. The first inductee was Lex Luger. My brief history: muscle man, late 80s, friendly with Sting. Got into WCW. Sting got injured, so he actually won the World Heavyweight Championship. People hated him. He joined the World Bodybuilding Federation. Vince McMahon's idea in the early 90s. Became the narcissist. Was at WrestleMania. They put the Lex Express and everything behind him to make him the next Hulk Hogan. I mean, millions and millions of dollars. Didn't work. Went back to WCW. Torture Rack won world title, became a total package, and then that's basically it. Monty, I've not really missed anything out, have I?
no, I mean,
I think
I enjoyed him late in his run in WCW when he stopped even wearing gear. That was hilarious. When he used to come out there with the don't worry about it. Anyway, yeah, that's a pretty good run now. Like if you think about his WWE career, he is not Hall of Fame. But since they take into account WCW and WA, you got a better case for it if you take into account everything. And he was one of those names. You can say whatever you want about him, but when I was growing up, he was one of those people that, along with the Randy Savages and some of the, Hulk Hogan, people would say Lex Luger. People knew what the torture rag was. So that is something. That meant something back, especially when you think about the WWE Hall of Fame. So yeah, I always was cool on Lex. I didn't have a problem with it. I think the funniest thing about like what you just said, James, about them putting all their money behind him to make him the next Hogan. The real problem was that he was way more like the narcissist than he was some American hero. But Lex was more honest about that. Like Took years later for people to find out Hogan was really a dick. But like Hogan, I guess, could play the character of a hero way better in that time period than Lex ever could. Lex was such cared so little at the time about wrestling fans and about he talked about that in his speech. He cared so little at the time about it that he couldn't even really act like he was anybody's hero, you know. So anyway, I like I said, I didn't mind Lex, man. He was one of those guys that when actually went back to watch WCW, I always thought he was way bigger and better than he was. Like when I was younger, when you go off his name and you go how he looked, you would think that man was like one of the greatest of all time if you just look at him. But like when you went back and you actually watched him, he wasn't really that special in a lot of ways. But I always kind of like Lex, in a sense. I don't know what it was really about him, but I liked him.
Oh no,
So to
yeah,
see him
yeah.
here, yeah. What you about to say? Go ahead.
No, I was about to say he definitely had charisma. That was definitely something he
Right,
had.
right. He had that about him. So, he was unique too in his look. So, to see him here though too, I think for me personally, knowing everything I know about him outside the ring, about his personality and how he was, and what he even mentioned in his speech, you could tell that he said it. Like I never thought I was gonna be back here. It was no. You told me I was going to Hall of Fame. No way in hell. I mean, think about it. He walked out on his contract from WWE to WCW, and he never came back. When they had a chance to, try to get a guy like him back, like when WCW went out of business, they weren't calling Lick. They didn't want nothing to do with him, and he probably didn't want anything to do with the business anymore either by then. So yeah, man. When you think about everything he went through personally outside the ring, a lot of it self-inflicted, and just to see him now and like I said, for as long as I known Lex, what was always sad is you would see the old clips of Lex, and then you would watch some of these DVDs I grew up watching, or some of these specials, and you see Lex in a wheelchair talking about wrestling, and you would think that's that guy, like that jacked, huge man is now relegated to this. So to see him being able to stand up, like I said, I don't know I know everybody might not be the most religious. I fluctuated throughout my life, but what I will say is, if DDP, if DDP is in hell, we all doomed. Like the miracle that man be working on his brothers in wrestling. Like you go back to Jake the Snake and what he did for Razor before he passed, and how Lex is able to stand up on his own because of a lot of the stuff he's been working with him on. I don't know, man. DDP is amazing to me. Like DDP might need to go to the Hall of Fame just for his post career, like just for
Yeah.
DDP yoga. They might need to put him in the Hall of Fame. Besides the fact that he was one of my favorites in WCW, but anyway, it's not about him. Congratulations to Lex, man. I love his speech because you could tell, it meant a lot to him to be able to do this, and
Yeah.
like you said, to be alive for it. We talk about that all the time. There's a lot of people, disgraced or not, who was not alive to be able to do this. So it was really cool.
I think what helped as well, maybe Hogan's PR team would listen as well. If you get serious illness, that kind of softens the heart of WWE as well. Kind of let you back after
Yeah.
being on, like you said, the hated list for so long. But as you mentioned, DDP, he inducted him. Should have been Sting, but then again, if WWE want to play games, AEW can, And like I said,
Right.
Luca gave a nice speech. He said he didn't understand the fans, but again, it was nice. Pat spent some time mocking Cole. Saxon would have been fine in the role. Thank you very much. Kamala into the legacy wing, which again might go under the radar, but Kamala definitely deserves it. One of my first matches that I remember watching was Undertaker versus Kamala. Anyway, Michelle McCool was next. She might not. She might look like Charlotte, but she's nowhere near. I might be wrong though. Gina, is Michelle McCool the reason why we have women's wrestling today, according to what they were saying at Hall of Fame, basically?
No.
What? No, Laycool didn't have that impact.
Okay, I will admit that my views here are going to be very biased because there was a time in my life that I did not watch wrestling, and that was during the Lay Cool era. So
Lucky.
I wasn't exactly the biggest fan of hers when I did get back into wrestling, but that's just because I didn't really know her from when she came in to have seen how she built herself up. I thought there were some nice things said. Um, I don't think she's done anything really, in my mind, to really shape the women's division. There are several other women out there who I would put above that. Um, I'm not saying she doesn't deserve it, but I also think that there was a bit of favoritism played here because of one's husband, let's just say. Sorry to say, but yeah, there were other people that I could have thought of that would have been more suited for this type of speech. But one thing I will say is that I caught the subtle shade of the cameraman where I think her husband, the Undertaker, was doing a speech for her and said, she came into this company without a famous name on her back or something like that. And the cameraman cuts to Natalia. I'm creasing still about it. Cameraman was on point.
Yeah, without a doubt. And yeah, the thing with Michelle, again, just shows the respect and love she's got with the entire women's kind of locker room, that The Undertaker was the person inducting her into the Hall of Fame. And I love how Michelle was talking about her dad beating her up when she was 5. Those memories, She just went on. Jesus Christ was mentioned. And we finished with that. Legacy, then Dory Funk. And this crazy motherfucker who could barely stand at the Hall of Fame had a death match last year. That's how tough he is, all right? Linda was there, but no Vince. Natural Disasters were next. John Tenter's kids and Fred Ottman. The Shockmaster into the Hall of Fame. It was a nice speech. Match was inducted next, Brett versus Punk. I love this match. We actually spoke about it on the live show. Punk apparently had 2 minutes. I think Brett should have busted Austin open and put it in a sharpshooter for old times there. But I think it was a cool trophy and nice speeches, but Pat had to interrupt Stone Cold, and he got beer on Brett. But Monty, this wasn't too bad for a kind of idea that they had, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it's a great choice for a first match. It is a special match. It's one of the best executed like double turns. I mean, one of the only ones that was even executed remotely that well to me. And I don't even think that was and that wasn't even a double turn. I don't think, 'cause I don't think Warrior turned heel for beating for splashing Macho Man 35 times, and then Macho Man turns face and goes gets back with Elizabeth after. So I don't think that was a double turn. But the only other match I could think about it where a character switch happened directly almost because of the fight in the match, pretty much, and of course the theatrics afterwards. But I think the reason, and Macho basically being retired or whatever was going to happen because they're no longer the Macho King and all of that. That's the only match I can really think of that had before Austin and Brett executed it, that had a match change a character's role purely through wrestling storytelling, and that's kind of like one of the unique things about it. So I do think that it deserves an honor like this. It was cool to see that. I do think that if I knew when I was watching it what I ended up knowing, what was coming after it, then I probably wouldn't have been. I ended up being more annoyed with the fact that they only had 2 minutes apiece to speak. Like Punk could only talk for 2 minutes. Brett mentioned his time was short, and Austin just kind of wrapped it up and kind of got him out of there. So uh, the fact that it only was about 8 to 10 minutes when like before it was fine. Okay, all right, they got it out the way. Beautiful match, beautiful moment. Congratulations, Brett get 3 Hall of Fame rings. Austin get another one. Pretty damn cool, right? But then when you go into the next segment and you see what's next and just how long that takes, and I know we're gonna get into it, but just the fact that is what we were doing for the next over an hour, pretty much.
Yeah. Well,
And
that's what we.
then you
Yeah.
cut their time. Like that annoyed the hell out of me in hindsight, looking back at it. But it was that segment with Punk and them, that was cool because again it was one of those first time everything. And I do like the idea of inducting matches. My thing is what is gonna be the criteria. I can't wait to see what else gets in so we can all start debating criteria as the years go by, because then, I can't wait to see what you decide. Like, what's gonna be the first women's match? Personally for me, Bailey, Sasha, and NXT Brooklyn should probably be the first women's match to go in. I think that's what changed everything in that company. But because Sasha ain't there, will they do that? Will something else be first? It's really interesting to see how they decide to play that
Lord,
theme
if they
as years
choose
go
the
by.
triple threat with Ronda, Charlotte, and Becky, my goodness,
Yeah,
I'll
I hope they
cry.
pick the Playboy pillow fight. That's my choice. WrestleMania,
Right.
whenever it was. That's what
Yeah.
deserves to be in.
Why not? What about the time when they fought in the mud? Like one of those matches.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm,
The
good
cat
times.
or something.
Right, anyway, we move on to Ivan Koloff. He went into the legacy, and apparently you could hear a pin drop when Bruno Sammartino got pinned after 8 years, and Ivan Koloff was that man to beat him. We get Triple H, great. He was the best in the world in 2000. Whatever I say from now on, at that point, I was loving him, and he was delivering great matches. But, Jaxie, the question I have for you is there anything we haven't been told about Triple H and how great his legacy actually is?
Um,
Like,
I think for a lot of us veterans, the probable answer is no. We kind of knew a lot of these accolades, going um, way back. But this, I don't know. I didn't watch the full thing. I watched highlights. But I kind of felt like Booker T by the end of it. It was almost like I've heard this stuff before, so I don't like, especially when you go back, like if you are a fan of WWE, having seen multiple documentaries, just talking about the accolades of what Triple H has done in the past anyway. This is just sort of like the same old stuff. So it's not that I'm not appreciative of this and that he doesn't deserve this Hall of Fame moment, but do I think that this was overly excessive? Yes, indeed,
yeah.
100%.
Yeah, without doubt, I feel exactly the same way. They really could have finished after the video of him. Triple H inducted him. He mentioned kissing, and I don't care what anybody says. Steph did help. She did help. I lived 2003, man. I was there. And after rushing Punk and others, Triple H spoke for an hour and 7 minutes. The event finished 10 a.m. in the morning UK time. That's that is just unheard of. Triple H thanked everyone, but not Jim Ross. Monty, am I looking too much into that or not? And what do you think? Because I know you enjoyed Shawn Michaels as well.
Yeah, man, Sean was great. That was the highlight of it. Honestly, and no offense, I know Triple H said a lot, and I'm pretty sure it was some cool stuff in there too. But to me, Sean was the highlight of it because you can kind of see in Sean's speech that because of the way he used to be in their past, he seems to be really, really happy going off his speech that Triple H even stayed his friend over these years, which is crazy when you think about like a long-standing friendship. You think about that's kind of like how it's supposed to be, right, Sean? You stand by your friend, but like that just kind of speaks, in my opinion, to the ups and downs and how bad things could have gotten at one point, and so it's just really kind of cool to see him kind of come to tears in that regard and cracking jokes as he always do about how nobody talks about his era, his original era DX. Everybody wants to talk about the one Triple H led with X Pac, and and he said he's not bitter about that at all. Just like that's hilarious. So like Sean, just I don't know. I always like Sean's sense of humor and all that. Even though I'm pretty sure Brett. I think Brett had to leave, right? Ain't no way Brett stayed for that because I know
No.
he can't. He never liked Triple H's work, and then to hear Sean sit up there and talk for 15, 10 minutes. I know that he had to leave. But anyway, this was cool. I really like that moment for Sean because, like I said, Sean is just really good at his job, and he's like I said, he threw a little humor in there. Triple H did too, but like you said, after a while, it was just like wow. But yeah, that's a great point, man. He was talking for so long, I kind of didn't even really pick up on the fact that he left JR out, but I think that's such a, and especially when I think about like Austin's relationship with JR and how he would always give JR. As a matter of fact, he gave JR credit here, on the commentary, gave JR, Vince, and whoever was on commentary for his match because he
Mhm.
understands how important. Like you say what you want about Michael Cole, but his job is important. Is he a JR in his prime? Hell no. But I do believe, they are important to these moments and to explaining what we're watching. And JR was the best at that. Nobody made you hate Triple H more than JR. I don't care what nobody says. He was nowhere near the villain, in my opinion, without that passion and without that, and even as years went by, and you go into the Reign of Terror, Triple H had basically whole angles with JR, pretty much, on little side angles with JR. So it is amazing that he didn't thank JR. I mean, it's crazy to me that he didn't thank JR for putting over kind of his career, because he really helped. Like you mentioned, 2000. Who was he feuding with? Mick Foley, somebody that JR always held highly. So like Triple H kind of took out his guys when it come to Austin and Mick, and JR kind of helped tell those stories of painting his guys as the good guy and Triple H as the villain. So it's amazing when you think about that he left him out, especially when he damn sure had enough time to do it, to say thanks to him.
Yeah, and especially as JL was like head of talent, I know, mate, not signed
Right.
him. Bruce Pritchard might have done, but maybe Triple H there goes Bruce Pritchard and John Laurinaitis. I completely forget about Jim Ross. But again, the Hall of Fame was and again, this weekend, and I've got to be careful because I'm a fan of WWE and I don't want to get any people on my side or whatever, but it's just a lot of backslapping and go, look how great we are. And this man who's created this era deserved to speak for that long about this, and it's just, all right, we get it. We do it to ourselves, I suppose. It's like CM Punk chant, and if we stop watching, but we won't. WWE Countdown, 3 fucking hours. Why do I do it to myself? Cole, Pat, Wade, Biggie, also Joe Test, Sam Rosenberg, Jackie Redmond, Byron Saxton, Kathy Kelly, Peter Rosenberg. I mean, Gina, did he have enough staff? Or do we need more than the kind of dozen that they've already got? Fucking
No, they literally have so many, and it's just again 3 hours just for them to all sort of give their views and everything on all the matches up to come. It's like, oh gosh, okay. Again, I would not sit through it. I'm sorry,
No.
but I'm grateful to see, Biggie still being involved and things like that. But I'm gonna go through 2 nights of staying up super late because we're in the UK as well. So I'm going to be watching live and staying up super late. I'm not gonna sit through 3 hours of all the different commentatory staff and interviewee staff giving their views on these matches
Yeah.
when I'm also
Yeah.
going to be giving my own views.
Yeah, I think I'm the kind of the real glutton for punishment by going back and rewatching it. I think if it's live on the background, you just let it go. That's acceptable. But to sit down and try and get something out of it, yeah, it just I don't know why I did it. They picked Triple H versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 28 as a #1 WrestleMania match. Bitch, please, or was I tripping? I don't know. Triple H sit down interview. I've had just about enough. Charlotte sit down interview with Wade. She talks about marriage. She says she doesn't have kids but does want them. I'm always there, Charlotte. And then the big news, WWE have bought Triple A. There will be a Wells Collide June 7th with NXT and Triple A. Triple H was with the president. She looked really happy to be there. Vikingo in the background, also Andrade, Steph, Legado, LWO, Ray, Penta with Phoenix for the first time as well. But Monty, this was big news. And I mean, what do you make of it? I mean, because again, Mexican wrestling, I'm not, an expert, so to speak.
I mean, I'm not really an expert on AAA either, because I mean, I know the relationships are a little bit different. I know a little bit more about CMLL, but to be honest, I'm not. I'm just as lost as you are when it comes to a lot of the lucha happening. But from all I hear about it, this been in the works for a long time. Uh, they've been trying to figure out a way to do this for a while. It kind of explains the directive when it comes to reacquiring like the Andrades and getting Ray and Penta, and a focus on just building up a division when it comes to Luchador. I don't know how much interaction we're going to be seeing with AAA in general as time goes on. Don't know if AAA is just going to be usurped. I don't know if it sounds like right now they'll continue to be just a brand, maybe under the WWE umbrella. But you gotta understand, like the acquisition stuff for WWE, that's not the era they've been in. They're not really an acquisition. They don't do this often. When they acquire people, ECW happens, and you end up with a video library. You either do your own little fake brand version of it, or you do like Evolve or some of these other ones where you can turn it into something else if you want to, but for the most part, what it originally was is over. So I think that might be what's going to happen in AAA, but I don't know. I really don't know because I haven't heard any new updates about what we're going to actually be getting. I do think Worlds Collide with AAA sounds good, at least on paper. But from what I've heard from the people who do watch a lot of luchador wrestling, AAA is in a pretty shit state right now. So I don't, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's why they're selling or letting WWE acquire them because they might need this right now. So I don't know. I know Vikingo is a impeccable talent. Obviously, Triple H and WWE know because they made sure to flex really fast that Vikingo was there and that he's under the WWE banner now. And if you knew about when he was with AEW, even though they were using him and he's been booked in these pretty cool situations. Conan, I know for a fact, used to speak on it all the time about how the relationship with AAA and AEW just wasn't really good because of their relationship with CMLL. You know how that goes. Like they be, politics, man, politics. So I don't know, man. They say they've been acquired. We'll see what that means, or actually what are we going to get from this. And I don't know. I don't know. So much is going on right now, and this is WrestleMania season, literally the busiest time of the year. So I think it's a good thing for WWE, but at the same time, it's an acquisition, so I don't think they can lose anything from it either. When you really think about what's happening here, so I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what this means for AAA. I don't know what this means for all the luchadors on the roster. We'll see. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah. Well, apparently it was $50 million was the deal. And of course, I think the president was saying as well the fact that they couldn't compete with football or soccer, so they couldn't get a sponsorship deal. So WWE came in, and again,
Right.
few issues, like maybe Alberto Del Rio as their champion, but
Yep.
it's stuff to be kind of ironed out. But I think WWE saying that you can get these. We'll put these guys with you at some point in time. It looks like as well.
Yeah, so the way they're talking about it, Andrade, Penta, and all of them will have, hell, even the LWO. I know Joaquin, who is not Mexican, is they threw him up there too. Like, hey, Joaquin, come down there too. So I don't know. We'll see how it turns out and what it means. Like I said, it seems like a positive thing right now for everybody involved. Like you mentioned, what you think about Triple A's situation. So we'll see how it works out for everybody. But I mean, at the end of the day, even if it don't work out for AAA, they've been acquired. So like, it's like what can they do? It's not really a one of those. It's not like a partnership deal. So I really wanted a Worlds Collide out of Impact before I wanted something like this. But at the end of the day, I was just asking for a Worlds Collide, so I can't really complain too much
Yeah, you
because we've
got
been wanting the Worlds Collide for a long time when it comes to NXT. So I'm kind of happy about that either way. Hopefully, it ends up being a good show.
Yeah. Elsewhere, Rey Mysterio said he can't wrestle, but Ray Phoenix will be his replacement. We got to sit down with Jey Uso. The New Day were interviewed. Bailey was attacked backstage. Liv and Raquel laugh at Lyra. I mean, Gina, the one time we don't watch it. But Tom Rinaldi was there as well.
Exactly.
I know, God Almighty, and it's fucked up predictions, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Stephanie McMahon joined the panel. We had a Dana White Las Vegas video. Oh, yay! And Jelly Roll saying, God bless America. They really know how to speak to us. That's all I'm saying. But here's the WNR's 10th WrestleMania, April 19th. Cole Pat and Wade Barrett on commentary. Great to see Barrett call his first WrestleMania. Triple H comes out because we haven't had enough.
Gotta see it, right?
Come on, we need it. We need to be told this is WrestleMania. Otherwise, oh, is it? Oh, we didn't know. Then all for advertising to start the show with the World Heavyweight Championship. But Jey Uso, decked in blue with gold trim and flag wavers, yeeted his way to the ring. And contrary to the internet, Jey is over like Rover. The champion arrived, and Gunther looks like he was built for these occasions. Gunther chopped Uso, responded with an uppercut that rocked the champion and knocked him off his feet. Uso kicked out the powerbomb, and then Gunther hit a top rope splash after hitting him with the championship belt. The challenger laughed. The champion's late chops playing mind games, increasingly frustrating the ring general, and the finishing sequence was a combination that saw both combatants throw everything at each other, leashing chops, super kicks, and they did all this. Uso unloaded with Gunther, and he hit him with his own signature removers. This time, the challenger locked in the choke, and the ring general had no fight left and had to tap out. And your new world champion is Jey Uso, with Jimmy celebrating with Jey in the ring, and then they walked through the crowd. Jaxie, he did it, and what a way to start the show.
Yeah. This match, for an opening match, had the crowd lit from the very beginning. There was definite clear favoritism in, backing up and being behind Jey. And, again, going back to the build-up of this match with how things ended, with Gunther sort of fully laying into Jimmy, there was a lot of seriousness going into this match. I think that this has got to be some of the best work that I've seen Jey Uso do. And I was really proud and pleased to see the outcome of this match. It was very feel good, very much a great way to open up your WrestleMania weekend. Do I still feel a bit bittersweet that Jey actually was not in the main event? Yes. I think, kind of making a side note on this now, but we'll talk further into WrestleMania. But I feel like, position wise, this could have easily gone into a different main event. I would have switched this with a different main event, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, overall, it was a feel good moment. I think the main letdown I would have about this match was, there was a lot of seriousness going into this from Jay's point of view after we last saw what Gunther did to Jimmy. I quite would have liked to just seen Jay go a little bit more out of control in this match and just kind of lose it and just really be on Gunther like a tiny bit more, maybe shed a bit of Gunther's blood or something, like just really like, I don't know, take this to a personal level the way that Gunther did. So I feel like there was a bit of a slight letdown with like that sort of angle, but in terms of like the overall match, like again, I think this was some of Jay's best work. So this still was a really good feel good match, and the outcome, like I kind of really wanted to happen from a feel good point of view for sure. Where this leaves Gunther now, we'll soon talk about that.
Yeah, we'll get on to that in a second. But Gina, again, this must have resonated with you, of course, like we see here with the twins celebrating, of course, one more successful than the other. But you're used to that, Gina, I suppose. But again, it's a nice moment.
Yes, I'm definitely used to it. No, I have to agree with what Jaxie says. She really did just tell it from like a personal point of view as well. For knowing like your sibling has been beat by this person, it felt like personal, and I felt like he needed to get revenge for me and my twin as well, and for anyone who has a sibling out there, so I definitely was, egging Jay on to continue on with the beating, but I think the ending is so poetic, just because like Gunther's done that to both him and his brother, and to make him like fall asleep and tap to his own, it was just poetic in my eyes.
And again, Monty, a lot of people complained and go, "Oh, Gunther looks so, so bad." But if you've watched the product and you've seen Gunther or Walter, you'll know that's his weak spot. Ilya beat him with that as well, didn't he?
Yeah, and I think that's what I'm glad you mentioned it, man. Like I went back and I watched that Dragunov match, and I remembered it right when the commentary would talk about how Dragunov, getting him in that choke is a reason why, and you know what that and you know who that falls on. That goes back. We talk about how great commentary was for in NXT UK when that moment happened, for it's kind of explaining that story beat. Michael Cole and them didn't have a clue about that. And I wish whoever was putting this match together explained that, going all the way back to his history in NXT UK, and even before that, the reason why he uses that choke so effectively is because if somehow locking in on him, that is literally his weak point. That's why he tapped out so fast. He literally don't. He's smart. He know he can't get out of it once he's locked in. Like because Jay had his legs wrapped, so it was perfect. And like that was a great ending. It was just like what Dragunov did. But also before that, he took three of the man's finisher. He had just got speared and splashed and power bombed. The reverse power bomb that Jay did when he rolled through Gunther's power bomb attempt and then did a powerbomb of his own, which was that's when I stood up. I stood up like, okay, yeah, Jay wrestling. Because like again, everybody got so much to say about what he can do and how many moves it takes or whatever, whatever. And it's just and then what I found out after the match, because I felt like kind of like mentioned earlier, that was one of Jay's strongest wrestles match. Like he didn't really miss a beat at all. And it had all the drama you needed of a really good contest. And it was still certain people saying, "Oh, that was probably Jay's best match." But that was Gunther. That wasn't even top 30. I'm just like, okay, what's the point? What do you like? At this point, you just don't like Jay. Just that's fine. You don't like Jay. It is what it is. But it's like that was a worthy championship earning performance, in my opinion. And it was a great story told. Not only to mention the Ilya Dragunov, but like a lot of people picked up on quickly too the lasting image that people saw was a bloody Jimmy Uso in that choke, where Jay couldn't do much about it. So it was also kind of cool too that he wrapped it up in that way. But either way it go, I just thought the match was wrestled well. I even like the fact that even though he got chopped 20 times, and I watched the vlog of Jay after Mania, he talked about it. Even like 30 minutes after the match, he couldn't breathe. So he was taking those chops and smiling during the match, but they hurt like hell even though he was smiling in the match. So I really love that element too because it just kind of shows. I think that's when Gunther is at. Usually, whenever Gunther has been threatened, again back to that Dragunov, when you can match his physicality back to him, Gunther has never been good at being able to handle it. You know what I mean? Like historically speaking, the people who have been able to go back to him as hard as he goes at them, Gunther. I know he doesn't lose much, but his one, like you said, the one weak spot you have is that choke, and then like I said, being just as tough as he is, surviving the storm that is Gunther, and that's what Jey Uso did. So I really was into this match, and I was so happy for Jey Uso.
Yeah, but like I said with Jey Uso as well, it's incredible when you think about his journey from just being a tag team wrestler and even kind of getting over the way they did and everything that's kind of what we've seen. We've all been on this journey. We talk about Roman Reigns and the bloodline stuff like this, but Jax, especially you and I think it was Jey Uso versus Roman, the first kind of main event we covered. And now you come forward and Jay's actually getting his moment. I don't think we realise kind of how big this is until we've got a little bit of time to kind of reflect and look back and go, he actually did do it, because it is a
Yeah,
huge accomplishment.
exactly. And I think, Monty pointed out, like, I think even Gina pointed out very correctly, like, just the poeticness of, like, sort of what Gunther took just in the build up, just leading up to taking that sort of chokehold, and like you could just tell like he was completely winded. He wasn't able to like sort of, gain his breath back before actually being put into that. So it was a really poetic ending. And, as much as I kind of discussed about sort of like what I said earlier about the disappointment and stuff in terms of, maybe beating down on Gunther a lot, you still got to take into account like the accomplishments and where Jay has come from, especially as you rightly said, from where we first began reviewing together. Like that you could just see the experience and how much it's paid off. And I think this was one of those feel good moments that actually was needed within wrestling. And it just like it really worked well. And having Jimmy come in at the end, yeah, I definitely got emotional at that. It was a great way to end things.
Yeah, about that. Monty made a great point as well about Gunther struggling with the smaller guy. You never see him struggling with a big guy, just usually smashes him. And people saying, oh, Gunther's affected. He's lost 4 times in 4
In his
years.
career,
Yeah,
like, come
4
on, bro.
times. Get
He
over
getting
it.
buried, and he only lost 4 times in his whole career. Like, what the hell are we talking about, bro?
I know. It
Man, they
is.
get on my nerve.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? It's like the Miz is going, what? You know what I mean? But anyway,
Right.
great opener. So we get the scores. Jack C, start us off with this one, please.
I'm going to give this one a 4.75.
4.75, Monty.
Yeah, I gave it 4.5. I thought it was really, really good. Awesome story, really good match, awesome way to kick things off. Definitely Jay's best match, and Gunther looked wonderful putting Jay over, in my opinion.
Without doubt, Gina.
Yeah, I'm also going to go 4.75.
Yeah, I'm going to give it 4.5. Really great way to start the show. Right, so predictions. There in our prediction league 2025 after stand and deliver the bonus league. Gina on 8, Jaxie on 10, I'm on 12, Monty on 13. WWE, me and Gina on 1, Monty and Jaxie are on 2. AEW, Monty's on 2, Gina's on 1, me and Jaxie have yet to score. But to start us off here, we all went J, all on 1. Of course, the undefeated streak is on the line here. I've never lost over 2 nights at WrestleMania. Up next, World Tag Team Championships, the War Raiders versus the New Day. The Raiders tried to take out New Day early, but Kingston and Woods overcome the size and strength advantage of their opponents. Ivor did hit a great moonsault for a near fall, but New Day then isolated him, and he put him away with a double team move with Kofi holding the legs. Your new tag team champions, the New Day. Monty, what were your thoughts on this?
I don't know, man. If you think about the wrestling, I thought the wrestling was actually pretty good in the tag team match. If you just look at the stuff they were actually trying to attempt, but this is just something, and I don't know what it is that make the War Raiders. I don't know if it's because people just don't care about Vikings anymore right now. What I don't know what it is that make the War Raiders repellent for the fans to even really give them a chance anymore. Maybe it's because they're baby faces and they're probably better suited to be tormenting people as heels. But at this point, we have, I think, more heel tag teams on Raw than anything, most likely. Other than like really, the only other baby faces is Akira and Otis that I can think of on top of my head. So the Raw tag division is pretty rough, but. I think they've also been a detriment to just inconsistent. Like, even though they're world champ, you can't tell they're world tag champ. And the New Day took advantage. I thought the match was decent. But when the most memorable thing I can think about of the match and the overall segment was how fast the New Day ran out of ran out of the thing when they after they won it. If the fact that that's probably the thing that stuck out the most to me, even though they did cheat to win, nobody felt the fans didn't really seem to care or felt like the Royal Raiders got screwed, and we just kind of moved on. So yeah, I don't think this executed. I don't think this was executed as well as they wanted to. Even though I love some of the moments in the match, some of the tandem wrestling was pretty cool, but it just felt kind of off. Like when you think about how hype everything was for Jey Uso in that moment, to come out with this right after it kind of brought the show down a couple pegs to me. Even though I think the wrestlers were trying, so I gave it 3.5.
Yeah, 3.5. Yeah, like we said in this matchup. I mean, Gina, we did talk about the New Day, the kind of heel turn not being used maybe correctly, but it didn't help the crowd didn't give a shit about the War Raiders as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to say it now. I think, they utilize their advertisements way too much. And the main reason why this was on the WrestleMania match card was because they wanted the Clash of Kings sponsorship being on there. The main thing I
A good
remember
point.
is the,
A
is,
good
is
point.
the
Yeah.
dress up that the War Raiders had. I
Good part, I
just,
forgot about that.
of all the costume designers that's backstage, y'all couldn't have tried to make this look semi decent and not like two kids have just gone into the costume shop. And oh gosh, that was just funny. For me, I personally would have actually put the triple threat TLC match that Street Profits, um, the Motor City Machine Guns and DIY would have had on this match card if you wanted a more hype like tag team matchup. But again, I think they chose having the sponsorship over that. For me, I think the New Day deserved the win, especially because I think that's the way people more wanted them to go. And I think it just helps them with their heel turn anyway, with them winning the belts. So story wise, I do think it makes sense that they got the win. But I just have a feeling like if it had gone the other way round and War Raiders successfully retained, as Monty said, like would it have been kind of like crickets
Mm.
in the audience? So yeah, It was a good match. I will give them that. They all wrestled well. I couldn't get over the costumes though. For that reason, I've given it a 3.5.
3.5. Jaxie, I mean, they pretty much covered everything here. And again, this didn't get
Yeah.
out of being a Raw match, did it?
Yeah, I was gonna say I have to agree with pretty much everything that both Monty and my sister have said about this match. The costumes were really a little bit it threw me off to begin with, if I'm truly honest. It was just not the best choice of outfits for the War Raiders. But I think that Monty was really right in terms of being like, I don't know what they could really do to get the audience really behind them, because they just don't seem to have that much of a maybe a persona or a personality to be vividly remembered, from their promo work and stuff. Like, it's adequate, but like it's not anything like outstanding, so I don't think that they're having the impact that maybe creative were expecting. But I also do agree with what my sister said. In I feel like New Day needed to pick up this win in order to solidify this sort of heel turn that they have had, because they've not really had much of a heel turn impact since the shocking sort of like turn on Big E. And if you want like this heel turn to kind of mean something for the New Day to like sort of carry on with, like, you had to do something significant like this. So I was kind of pleased with the outcome, but my one point was exactly what you just brought up. This easily could have been on Raw. I agree with my sister. Maybe I would have maybe put the triple threat TLC that was on SmackDown here instead. Because this didn't really feel like it warranted or needed to be on this match card. Not taking away from the wrestlers' ability in the ring, it was entertaining. But if I feel like it was, I feel like it could have been just on main event of Raw the night after or something.
What would you score it?
3.5. 3.5.
3.5 all round their predictions. We went New Day, so all on 2. Up next, Jay Cargill versus Naomi. And Jay's Weather Channel bollocks aside, both did look fantastic. Jay Cargill similarly put a rivalry with Naomi behind her with an emphatic victory in which she absorbed everything the former women's champion threw away for powering up on her shoulders, turned it into a powerbomb, and then added Jaded for the pinfall victory. Gina, what were your thoughts on this one?
Do you know what? I really enjoyed this match. I'm really a bit sad because I do feel like the crowd were just quite quiet for this match. But for me, this match was big. It was a WrestleMania match on the match card that was between two, black females that wasn't for title in any way, shape, or form. It was just pure storyline, driven. And I think that is like an accomplishment in itself to even have that. I think they both did really well. They've got great chemistry together, and again, they've built this story up from even just before Elimination Chamber. And yeah, I really enjoyed this feud. I wish it got more hype, like with the crowd that was there, because they did seem a bit quiet. But for me, I really enjoyed it. I thought they worked well together. I think that they can continue a feud with even how they left things off. I think they could have had either woman win, and it would have still been a great match. Yeah, I just wish they had more hype whilst it was live there. So for me, I gave it a 4.25.
4.25. Yeah, but what was interesting, we talk about the match, I think, delivered, but Jackson, let's talk about the presentation of Naomi from the theme to the gear, and Jay just looking like a god. This was just
Mm.
extraordinary.
Yeah, I have to agree with a lot of the major points my sister brought up. I think that it was really hard. I rewatched this match and I think I enjoyed it back a second time round a bit more, mainly so because I just like focused on the wrestling. But I must admit, watching this live, I was really like thrown off and disappointed with the like lack of energy that was coming from the crowd. I feel like this was a really excellently built up feud. As you rightly said, both Jade and Naomi came in with that like presence of like there is a real blood feud here. And I think like both women worked really well together. It held their own without, like, the likes of needing like a Bianca Belair sort of situation in there. As my sister said, I think that this outcome could have gone either way and made both women still look good with how they both complemented each other in the ring. I obviously went out on a limb here, so disappointment wise in terms of like where my predictions leave me, but at the same time, I think both women worked really well together, and I was just really pleased for but what they both could produce in the ring. So I gave this a 4.5.
4.5. Yeah, I mean, for people who just watch Manias, to know that these two teamed up last year, but like I said, the crowd was too quiet. And the interesting fact as well, this is the first non-title singles match between two women at WrestleMania since Tori Wilson battled Candice Michelle at WrestleMania 22. Monty, thank fuck times have changed.
Love you, Candy. You really made a young 11-year-old's life special. Anyway, what I will say about that is, by the way, I do understand. I think this is another element you guys haven't mentioned. You mentioned the crowd, but I think that what we're seeing, and to me, this is the biggest example of the demographics of this crowd that you would see. Of course, we knew celebrities would be there and all of that, but I talked about it all the time. I talked about it on the build to WrestleMania. They kind of the ticket prices priced out a lot of the diehard week to week fans. I'm not saying they weren't there. I'm sure there was plenty of people who watch week to week and who actually follow the product in the crowd. But in a stadium like that got 60,000 people in it, it's safe to say that it was a lot more casuals and a lot more people who may know the big names. They may understand to wave your arms when Jay do the yeet, and they may know Jay Uso. But which again, I think is a great example of how over Jay is at this point. Like he's become mainstream in that way. You got to remember the very first Netflix show he came out with Travis Scott. So all those people who watch for Travis Scott, they know Jey Uso literally by proxy a little bit. So anyway, my point is that this is a great example of how you know a lot of those people who weren't saying much until they really got into a couple of the big moments in this match. Uh, that's how you know that they were casual, because I feel like if you are watching week to week, if you are enjoying, this is like one of the best built matches of Mania in general. So, like, to me, I don't see how you couldn't be on the edge of your seat anticipating what we could see here. But I thought they really did good either way. Like, they really kind of, if you really think about it, like to go off the kind of like the silence that the tag match had, and kind of the crowd never really got into it. This match started off quiet, but as it went on and Jade and them starting to showcase themselves, they kind of got into it by the end. And like you could have made the argument to me at that live the first time that it was probably in competition with Jay's match for the best match of the night at this moment. Easily, of course, because it was three. But the point I'm making is it was a really good match. But my only thing is, it's kind of funny you mentioned Jay going hard on Gunther. The only reason why I don't deduct points for Jay doing it is because I felt like instead of going crazy on Gunther, he focused so he could take the belt. In this situation, this is all personal. So it would have been nice to see them, whether it was Naomi go a little bit more crazy or Jade get a little bit more revenge. Don't get me wrong, she did. It was definitely some brutal moves that Jade is strong as hell. So it was definitely. I feel like it was adequate, like revenge. But to me, you could tell that this was not over. To me, from the way the match happened to me, I could tell that they probably got more juice to squeeze out of this angle, and we'll see what they decide to do going forward. But I still gave it 4.25. I thought both ladies went out there and showcased themselves really well. Jade 2-0 in Mania, and so far on a pretty good run to have uh, a big match every year going into this time of year. And then Naomi, once again, one of the most consistent, usually underappreciated, finally seeming to get that angle, get that story behind her, where it seemed like the company is taking notice of how important she can be for this women's division. And I just hope that continues out throughout the year, even as this J feud continues and when it's over.
Yeah, without a doubt. What did you score it, Monty? Sorry,
4.25.
4.25. Yeah, I mean, I gave it 4.5. I thought this was a good Naomi. Like it's so underrated as a worker as well. Predictions: girls went Naomi, boys went Jay. So boys are on 3, girls are on 2. United States Championship: LA Knight versus Jacob for 2. next, and Jacob came out with a mask. He's scary enough, man. We get a solo sighting. This is his first WrestleMania. LA Knight was driven to the stage, and the megastar scaled the ropes and caught his opponent with an overhead German suplex off the top in an incredible spot. Knight caught a moonsault on Fatu mid-flight with a blunt force trauma. Dueling chants late in the match indicated both men are over with the audience, and Fatu delivered consecutive moonsaults for the defining win to become your new United States champion. Jaxie, what were your thoughts on this?
Yeah, at the very beginning of this match, I there was excitement because it's Jacob Fatu. However, I was also kind of like, oh, LA Knight, it's gonna be tough. Uh, it was hard because I couldn't really see sort of an outcome where Jacob Fatu wasn't going to absolutely like demolish LA Knight, and that is kind of what he actually did. And this is one of the bookings that I feel is going right within WWE Creative at the moment. Jacob Fatu has just got a certain essence about him. He's really got the crowd behind him and everything. Like kind of what he brings at the moment is just very much entertaining and sporadic. So you just never know what's coming next with him. And I'm just intrigued to see more. This match was okay. Again, this felt like another match that maybe could have been put on the Raw after Mania. Not in terms of neither man doing like badly, but I also wasn't as like blown away by some of the other matches on this match card that we'll get to talking about as well. However, I did think that both men pulled it off well. We saw this outcome coming. So for me, I gave it a 4.25.
On the court for you. Yeah, like we said, Monty, the thing is about this matchup is this is the future, isn't it? You know, even Haku with ringside for the presentation just indicates where we're going with Jacob.
Yeah, man. Next year he might be where either Jay was, or I don't know about in the for the universal title, but you never know. To be honest, you really never know. Like the trajectory for Jacob is so high, and he's just like on. He got so much great momentum, and I don't see how they could drop the ball with somebody that's just so effortlessly good in the ring, but at the same time great at presenting himself in promos, and they've done a great job making him dangerous. I can't wait to see what his run is like. I think by now also LA Knight, in my opinion, has really developed a reputation between the match with AJ Styles and Logan Paul, and what he did this year. LA Knight, in my opinion, uh, he's really he's really developing. It's kind of like the opposite of what AJ Styles himself kind of have. If you're going off the quality or something, like the fact that Shane McMahon is AJ Styles' best match probably still. When we can talk about the Logan match, but we have probably still Shane is still the best he's done is insane when you think about everybody's fault uh, at Mania, and then but LA Knight, in my opinion, definitely two straight in a row, just absolute bangers in when it comes to the quality of what he's been doing in these WrestleMania matches. So uh, big up to LA Knight for even though he was losing, still showcasing himself well, and then also allow making Jacob look like money, even though I know Jacob don't need much help. And again, it is in my opinion, this was a fast pace. I thought the Naomi match too was quick too, but I still enjoyed the hell out of both of them. I give this 4.5. I was really into it, and again, like you said, James, the future is definitely bright for Jacob Fatu, and even potentially, I feel like even with LA Knight, I don't think the train for him is stopping. He may not be the yells may not be as deafening as they may were consistently, but I still think as a character and just he didn't look like a slouch in there with a guy like Fatu. Like that BFT spot really was it was really showed you that he was still a threat. He didn't get devoured. So LA Knight's future is not dull either. So this was great for both guys in my opinion. I loved it.
Yeah, I think you're right as well. We talk about LA Knight having delivered, and I think that is the question as well. I mean, like we know, Gina, about Jacob, and again with the bloodline ethic behind him, we know. But LA Knight is still around and consistent. We spoke about this before we started. The issue for LA Knight is there's a lot of talent around at this moment in time.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that there was still hype behind LA Knight throughout the whole match. You know, he was still being cheered for. It wasn't like the War Raiders versus New Day where you could tell the crowd were probably more behind the New Day getting the win because there wasn't as much hype for the War Raiders. So for me, I could still feel the crowd hyping LA Knight as well as Jacob Fatu. You know, this is one where they both had equal like chance behind them because they were just putting on a great match between themselves. But yeah, again, I didn't really anticipate LA Knight to get this win just because Jacob is, you know, on that high. And I think everyone loves Jacob because he's so unpredictable. They don't know what he's going to do next when he's next seen backstage or in the ring. What's he going to do? So I definitely think there's still hype behind LA Knight. And I do feel like he will still be involved in quite a lot of top storylines, hopefully, going forward. He just needs to keep the hype and the fans behind him, you know, because if he does start to drop a bit of that, then maybe he will get relegated to mid card.
Or even worse, main event. What would you score it, Gina? I meant the show, not the actual, you know.
Yeah. I'll give it a 4.
Give it a 4. I'm going to give it a 4.5. Like I said, the BFT when Night Courting was fucking unbelievable. Predictions were on Fatu, so boys won 4, girls won 3. And like we said, Ray Phoenix replaced the injured Rey Mysterio, defending Lucha Libre against El Grande Americano. He did not fare any better than the legend probably would have, thanks in large part to the Hills' reliance on an undetected metal plate. Grande tucked it into his mask, so when Phoenix kicked him in the face, hurt his own ankle. From there, he hit a diving headbutt and scored the ping fall victory. Oh, Monty, you've got the pleasure of doing this, I think. I mean, what a match, eh?
Man, what a shit fan. Uh, yeah, no. I don't know, man. This match left a real bad taste in my mouth, and I get it. Ray Phoenix don't have to be undefeated. And I don't even think anybody who's complaining about that finish uh is mad at him losing a match. I just think the thing is just like he lost in a similar fashion that we've kind of seen El Grande pretty much beat all the luchadors he's fought, and so it was no real progression here. Uh, Also for Chad Gable himself to never been on WrestleMania card. So his first victory is under this gimmick that we all know is his gimmick. You buy AAA, you use this segment to hype up that AAA when bringing Vikingo into the match and all of that. You use this segment. So now I'm thinking this whole entire angle, even if it was Rey Mysterio, the only reason why you're doing this crap is because of AAA. And maybe you'll send a Chad Gable down to AAA as El Grande. I'm sure that's probably in the cards now if they choose to do so. But to me, Chad Gable just deserves so much better. Do I think he's killing it, finding a way to still play his character as Chad Gable, and then also play this character? Sure. But I think we all know at this point that Chad Gable will take almost anything they give him and make $1 million out of it. But he deserves so much better, in my opinion, than this gimmick and then this angle. I was hoping that at some point he got either exposed for using the metal plate or exposed as Chad Gable, or like you mentioned, James, the doink. I just hope that we came to some type of
Yeah.
conclusion here. But this didn't conclude anything. So since you end up, you make Ray Phoenix lose a match against the phony luchador that everybody in the crowd know is a phony luchador. You purchase a luchador organization, and you know what I mean? Like even in the eve of that, the phony luchador still wins. And then, in my opinion, because of nothing happened in this match really, it wasn't like they did some great moments. Don't get me wrong; these are two great wrestlers. They had good moments in the match, but it wasn't such a banger to where we can ignore that ending, which was like I said, a bad ending. And then, in my opinion, you because nothing of note really happened in the match, you exposed the fact that the only reason why this entire thing is going on right now was to promote AAA. And then we got to continue with the shit game. So
Yeah.
I might have felt better if he at least ripped off the match and just like, oh, thank you. And then everybody saw you chat. Then I might have felt better at the end. But nope, we got to continue with it. So Yeah, this whole thing was frustrating to me, man. I don't want to punish them for that, but I don't know how I can give it much more than 3.5.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, if I can go with a kick early, but Gina, the thing is that I don't know. Maybe it's age for me, but I just don't get how. I mean, I get it. It's not WrestleMania worthy, but I don't understand how a Grande is so over with the audience. I just don't understand.
Yeah, I agree with everything Monty said. He pretty much summed everything up in a nutshell. I have the exact same thoughts. For me, it is a bit hilarious to have like an actual all these actual luchadors losing to this fake one like this. And again, I felt like WrestleMania, if you were going to put this match on the match card, then surely this is where the conclusion should hit. And we should unmask who El Grande really and truly is. Um, but because they didn't and they just continued the same stint, it just feels like a dead end story now. And it was just, the repeated storyline of it that we've seen for the past few weeks on Raw and SmackDown or wherever. So yeah, for me, I don't really have anything else to say. I'm glad that Ray Fenix got to be on a WrestleMania match card. I'm kind of sad that he got kind of used for this parody type of like match, I guess. So yeah, 3.5 from me too.
3.5. Yeah, I mean, I skipped on rewatch, but I mean, again, Jackson, we did touch on it. How much this look? Mariachi band playing Gable in, only to lose in front of, like Monty said, the brand new
Yeah.
Mexican wrestling company you just brought.
Yeah. Again, I think that was what made it a lot more bittersweet was, you made an announcement such as this to then have like a real luchador lose to a fake one. No matter how much this is just to build storyline, I also agree with Monty. I kind of am ready for this sort of storyline to currently be over because I don't think it does any favors to the announcement that you've just, bought Triple A because it's like, are you just gonna have, a continuous sort of like portrayal of like fake luchadors such as this because that's not the sort of creative storyline I really do want any of their AAA wrestlers moving over to WWE to be portrayed as like I want
Hmm.
them to be taken seriously and this match for me wasn't serious enough to be on a WrestleMania match card. Again, this for me really should have been on a Raw or a SmackDown. I do have a lot of bitter feelings towards this, especially because I just don't feel like on the grandest stage of them all, you should be allowing like a like not a non luchador win, especially with the announcement again. So
Hmm.
for me, I can't give it any higher than a 3.5 either, and I'm kind of giving that to the fact that Ray Fenix gave it his all. You can't even like take away like sort of the wrestling that Chad Gable did, but the fact that it wasn't him winning at WrestleMania as Chad Gable, that to me also just didn't sit right. I just don't really like this whole persona of Grand
Yeah.
Americano. I don't really feel like it needed to be dragged out this long, to be honest.
No, I completely agree with you. I gave it a 2.95. Predictions, you went Ray, so it means the boys are still on 4, the girls still on 3. Sean was out next. I bet he was knackered. 61,467 sold out, apparently. W Women's Championship, Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair. And Stratton exited the Barbie box for a special WrestleMania entrance. At least she's self aware, if nothing else. Charlotte was driven in. It hasn't been a good omen so far. The center of the universe and the Queen beat the living shit out of each other. This reflected the intense personal rivalry that had preceded it. So much so, Stratton was clearly missing at least part of a tooth afterwards. Knees to the midsection of the prettiest moonsault ever spot looked like it hurt. Stratton kicked out of a natural selection to keep her hopes alive. Both women targeted each other's knees with failed submission attempts. But Stratton hit the prettiest moonsault ever to deliver and secure the victory. God fucking damn it. But Gina, what were your thoughts? Tiffany Stratton is still the women's champion.
Well, thank goodness for that. I was literally on the edge of my seat, just chanting. I was like Harry Potter with the sorting hat on his head, going, "Don't let Charlotte win! Don't let Charlotte win!" Just because I feel like Tiffany needs to cement more of a women's championship run. I think it would have ruined it if she lost it here to Charlotte. But I'll admit this match was good. I enjoyed it. I think they both did well. I find it hilarious that Charlotte did that same move that Stephanie Vakir does, because it was kind of funny. Like the face that Charlotte pulled after, I was crying so much. It was so funny.
She did it
But
first.
You're gonna set Monty off.
She used to do it all the time, especially the roll through. I'm so sick of these
I
creatures of the
know, but
moment.
when you come, I'm not gonna say it. Okay, I'm not gonna say it. Yeah. Either way, I still enjoyed the match. I thought it was good. I do feel like maybe there was some like still real animosity and beef between them both. Um, I could feel like Charlotte not really wanting to put Tiff over as much. And I have seen like a few others have commented some similar viewpoints about it. But you could still tell they went hard just from how busted up Tiff's face came away from it, you know?
Yeah.
Not only did she look like she was missing part of her tooth, she had a horrible bump on her head as well. So hoping everything is okay with her. It was still a good match and it was enjoyable. I liked how both of their matches ring gear, sorry, complemented
Mm.
each other as well. So I thought that was pretty cool. And I also like the entrances. The car that Charlotte turned up in was really pimping, so I really like the car.
Yeah, I was going to say that, but I didn't think I could get away with it. And again, I don't sure Charlotte could learn. I think she could learn from Bret Hart because Bret said at the Hall of Fame, wrestling is all about having faith and trust in the person that you're wrestling and making sure you're there not to hurt each other. So Charlotte, maybe go and watch that because, like you said, I mean, Jaxie, they fucking laid it in. I'm not sure if I enjoyed
Mm,
the match, but I don't know if it was just because what was on the line or just because I
mhm.
felt a little bit. Well, I just felt it's a little bit scruffy, but then again, it's meant to be a fight. So what am I talking about? You know?
Yeah. I mean, I think when you look at the build up and how kind of messy maybe the promo work has been for this and sort of like maybe the personal sort of animosity going into this match, the very beginning of it felt very much like a slap fest where like they both just were throwing punches at the very beginning of the match, and that sort of moment felt personal. And I think that there were a few spots within the match where like it felt personal. And I think both women did well. I think that they kept the crowd's attention. I think that there were definitely moments where both women looked really strong and had great spots. It really did feel like sort of like a veteran wrestler against a new sort of upcoming sort of like young double with sort of their move sets, their wrestling move sets and things.
Yeah.
So it was definitely an interesting match between them. But as you said, with the sort of different sloppy moments, and there were a couple in there. This match was like okay, I think it could have been better, like in terms of like the way that certain moves and certain moments were handled. I feel like there were moments of like maybe less professionalism shown in certain spots, but that is after sort of going back and seeing sort of moments be pointed out like that. um
Mm.
but yeah, I'm obviously, of course, pleased with the outcome of this. I feel like Charlotte Flair just needs to learn a bit of humility and sort of accept it a little bit more humbly in within her persona, how she comes across in matches, because you can really feel the stubbornness and the attitude that comes from her sometimes in the outcome of her wrestling matches. Some sort of small dirty moments that you're just kind of like, really, Charlotte, was that necessary? I don't want to take from either woman because I do think they had a good match, but I don't think it was the best match on the match card. um for me, I'll go ahead and give this a 4 because I still think that this was a good match, but it wasn't my favorite of the night.
No, I mean, but again, Tiffany showed us she is the future. Her development is unreal. Monty, we've seen this on NXT. I don't know if it's 3 or 4 years ago. She had nothing to do with wrestling, and now look at her. And again, it's a bit of a shame because she always said Charlotte was her dream opponent, and she gets in the ring, and Charlotte just like bam, bam, bam,
Yeah,
which is a
but
shame.
how much of that at this point was a work or a shoot? Like people talking about it like that's a shoot 100%. But what the hell else am I supposed to do when you bring up my divorces and then we get that we go to that level in our promo? We just supposed to come out there and chain wrestle James? Then you would have been
Yeah.
pissed at that. Like no, they had to be physical. So I'm not really buying that it was like nobody was going under the belt or doing something crazy. I do think that they were physical, but they kind of had to be. Like to me, that helped the match. The fact that Tiffany looked roughed up helped the match because in my where I'm from, maybe it's just the Southern American in us. But when you speak about my personal life like that, I'm gonna beat your ass. I don't give a damn if we at work. So like that's just how it works. Like so, yes. Do I think some professionalism and like respect there? Sure, 100%. I do think it's kind of funny how much they look up to each other, and I think it's there. It's obviously there. And Charlotte after the match was very complimentary of Tiffany and was talking about. To me, I don't even think it's really an issue left because Charlotte put her over so well in that ESPN interview, talking about how she talked about years ago that Tiffany said she was being compared to her, and Charlotte relates because Charlotte has always been compared to her dad, and Charlotte hates that. She still hates. That is the one thing she hates the most about. It. She tries to play it off, and even she admitted. That's why another thing she said in that interview, she want more of Ashley to come out in who she is because she knows that the queen character she's played all of these years for so long has been not as relatable to people. She said that. So to me, the fact that Charlotte can verbalize that, it tells me that either one or two things happen. She's been wanting to do something different, and creative just want her to go out there and be Charlotte Flair, or you know what I'm saying? Like what everybody thinks is happening, and this is Charlotte's ego. So to me, when the Charlotte that speaks in interviews outside of wrestling sounds like a completely different person than what everybody tells me Charlotte is and what they see. So I don't. That's why I'm like, how much of that is work, and how much of this is you guys being worked by her character work and by what a Charlotte Flair would have to do after this storyline get that personal. It's the reason why the last week of this feud Charlotte had to beat her ass and attack her in the parking lot because it ain't no more words to be said at this point. So I knew the match was going to be physical, but was it great? No. At some point they were working against each other, and it wasn't just Charlotte. Like Tiffany was not ready on a couple of spots and all that, and that happens to the best of them. But I do think at some point, and like you mentioned, James, that comes with trust. I do believe some of the real life element plays a factor in the back of your head because I may have respected you at one time, may have liked you in the past and looked up to you, but I don't trust you because of how low I've seen you willing to go, or the fact that I know you're willing to take this off script. So that element does play a factor. Some people are great enough to work through that. Like I mentioned, Edge and Matt Hardy back in the day when their relationship was pretty much done outside of the ring, but they were able to have banger professional matches. It's crazy that they trusted each other because I know a lot of people probably wouldn't even want to work with a person that did what they went through what they went through. So the same thing can be said here. So I was just happy they got through the match. I figured it would be physical, because I just thought storyline wise it had to be. But yeah, it wasn't the greatest match. It probably I would have wanted a little bit more of compatibility from both of them. But at the same time, I'm sure this is like the first time they've touched extendedly in the ring like that. Like how much do you think they actually worked out this match physically? If we thinking people backstage got to keep them away from each other, so that plays a factor too. So I don't know. Like I said, Tiffany is really good. You're right, James. She's developing well. But like you just mentioned, James, 4 years ago she didn't know nothing about this business. You know what that means? That means she is still very new. So she's gonna screw up. And like you said, it's kind of on Charlotte to carry that weight and make up for those mistakes. And like I said, in this feud, you saw it didn't always happen that way, and that's 100% on Charlotte. But I do not want to continue to talk about Charlotte in this way when outside of it she's praised this girl and made it seem like the relationship that they have outside of the like they got a lot more in common than they don't. It just turned ugly because of a few bad moments on both sides, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
I love that walking away from it. Charlotte said how much respect and love, and she said she hoped that Tiffany Stratton knows that there's only one Tiffany Stratton. She'll never be Charlotte Flair. She shouldn't want to be. It's the only one Tiffany Stratton, in the same way it is for her, and vice versa. So I love that element, and I hope that's more of what the reality is now, and not just saving face because of how messy things got. But I'm excited to see because I hope creative listen to Charlotte and let her be more of a relatable. Let her be a person. Charlotte has never been a human being. Like say what you want. I love Charlotte. She's great in the ring, always have been. But her character wise, her entire run, she's been the same person. So it's time. Everybody else, Becky Lynch, why the hell you think she got more over? She was allowed to switch, lean into other stuff, be more of who she is. She's relatable. Bailey, 100% relatable as a heel. You know, you want to root for her as a babyface. Mercedes, don't even get me started on how much Mercedes has evolved and just been able to do her own thing. So out of all the four horsemen, only one of them is pretty much doing the same thing. Yeah, it's time for them to let Charlotte be Ashley.
Yeah. Well, number 15 is coming soon. Right, so scores for that then. Jackson, you gave it 4. Monty, what would you score it?
3 3/4.
3 3/4. And Gina?
Yeah, I'll give it a 4.
4. I'm going to give it a 4 1/4. I don't know why I hated it as well. Predictions all went Tiffany apart from me. So Monty's on 5, the rest on 4. We get a Hall of Fame recap. More of Triple H, but some people do like him. So what can I say? Mr. Chuckaluck Smith says, Triple H is the best. So good on you, mate. Brett rolling his eyes was a great moment. And it's main event time. Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns versus CM Punk. Seth had a flamethrower, then changed into something Shawn Michaels-esque, from dark to light, as it was. Roman was surprisingly next, and for the first time in years, he was alone. CM Punk had waited for this for years, and he comes up, well, the fire burns. And the video that was played will be his Hall of Fame video. It was so well done as well. And then Living Colour played Punk in. I love the yellow outfit of Punk. He beat Jeff Hardy for the world title in yellow. And fair play to Punk. Not many people get this, but he finally got what he wanted. As for the match, well, Reigns launched himself into the crowd, wiping out Punk, Rollins, and almost the first roll. Rollins countered a spear from Reigns into a pedigree, but still could not keep the Tribal Chief down. Punk delivered a go-to-sleep to Reigns, but he kicked out of 2. A shield bomb tease from Reigns and Rollins descended into chaos when Reigns powerbombed both through different announce tables. That was a great spot. Rollins, the Ultimate Troll, trapped Punk in his favourite wrestler's finishers, the Sharpshooter. Each man kicked out the other's finishers multiple times. There was a ridiculous GTS spear stomp spot, but it was Paul Heyman who made the difference. He grabbed a chair, gave it to Punk, only to hit a low blow on him instead. Roman smirked, Paul cried, but it wasn't over. He low blowed Roman, which set Seth for the chair, hitting the back of Reigns, and a stomp and a victory. And honestly, I can't believe that Roman Reigns was pinned here, but I mean, I suppose them are the breaks. Jaxie, what were your thoughts on this main event?
I mean, well, you can't deny that this didn't deserve to be like sort of it was main event worthy for sure. There was so many excellent moments. All three men worked really well together. If anyone hasn't seen it, this actually did go really well. There were so many like hype moments and near falls. You really could not tell where the outcome was gonna go, it was hard because of like I watched this back a second time, and I think that like it was definitely much more noticeable with like sort of Paul Heyman in the background and his sort of different emotions he showed towards different moments in the match leading up to what becomes the end. But for me, it really did go hard. It was a great match between all three, and I think all three men looked really strong in this match. I was quite shocked though, again, of Roman taking the pin, but I mean, considering how things went down, yeah, he ate a lot of blows to finally be taken down like this. But it really does cement sort of like what reign Roman had. And as you rightly pointed out, going into this match, he had no bloodline left. Everyone had turned on him. And it was quite poetic that the final person eventually turned on him as well. Like this kind of felt inevitable. And I don't know why I didn't see this coming. Like as in like sort of the way that it was handled, like the storyline.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was a great match. I can't deny that,
Yeah, without doubt. I mean, like you said, I can't believe Roman lost 2 WrestleManias in a row. It's his 10th main event, but you can tell he's kind of winding down. But, as we see in this, there was a lot going on. We'll talk about how right you guys were in a bit. Heyman was with Punk at WrestleMania 29, and he turned on him. I mean, can we forget Rybacksel? You know, I'm over it. Don't worry. But obviously, Monty, we talk about CM Punk. One of the reasons he quit, you know, was not having WrestleMania main event, and he finally got it, and a presentation for him. And even if I love the end shot where everybody's meant to be upset, and CM Punk's just laying in the middle of the ring with a huge smile on his face.
Right. At the end, he just sitting there like, I fucking did it. So like, I love it. I love that as much heartbreak and all that he's supposed to go through. And it's like you mentioned, Paul has turned on him before. But I do love. That's another thing about the element of Paul Heyman. Paul is a son of a bitch, man. Like the fact that he he actually seemed to act like he cared about turning on Punk with the teared up and all the whelping. But then when it was time to turn on Roman, he was so into it and just he was been waiting to low blow that man for the
Even rattled
longest.
around a little bit. Yeah.
Right. Like he took pleasure in that. And then, like I said, the excellence of the shot of Seth Rollins, not even having to look, he just knew what happened. I love that because that really puts over that whole architect thing that he's always been called, like being a mastermind. And the only reason why I didn't go with this being my default, my ending of night one was because I thought that that's basically what they done. I thought they made it so obvious that yes, this is gonna happen. Because in my opinion, if you go off the favorite stuff, the fact that he was bringing Punk in to me gave me immediate vibes that either he was gonna get turned on or Punk was just not gonna win. And then if that wasn't to happen, I was like, what was a way to make this be a shocking ending? They found a way to make something so predictable to me if you're just going off the story beats that they were telling leading up to this match. They found something. They found a way to make something so predictable still be executed in such a shocking way. That's what I think impressed me the most. On top of it being an incredibly wrestled match and everybody being on the right timing and it was Roman put on his wrestling boots. He really was out there showing out and giving one of his best performances of his career. Seth was consistent as always, and Punk was right there with them. So this was a really, really good match. I know I love the triple threat format, but this is like mentioned earlier, one of the best that you can really be into, even if it wasn't for a title. That's why I didn't know how would I go. Would I go 5 stars? Would I deduct it because it didn't have a title or some real, like legitimate stakes? But honestly, the story made me be like, oh yeah, you gotta kind of reward that because it was still so well done. And but yeah, man, for Punk, that video package, you gotta understand, I'm the guy. And that's why I think it's gonna be funny. That's why I think it's gonna be funny when we talk about the next main event. I'm a guy. I'm a Cena Punk guy. Those are my people. Like I was literally in that age range of kids, and like those are my people. Like I started off on the Cena side of things, but then as I got older and like the years went by, like Punk was one of my favorites by far, if not the second or probably my favorite at a period of time. Especially by the time he was on his way out, he was one of my favorites of the top on the card. And to see him get that moment, like you mentioned, I was one of those fans. Went to the Coca Cabana podcast, listened to one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, just sound so depressed and just sound so down about how he felt about this company and how it ran him down for years and the health staff was trash and Ryback calf killed him and just like he had so many grievances at the time. And I was like, yep, I love Punk, but I don't think he's ever coming back. And for him to be back here this many years later, still in great shape and able to main event of WrestleMania, and then the match be awesome. Say what you want about it, man, but like so far, his run in WWE has been really, really impressive, and just something that I didn't know he was capable of, and then literally like the next night, you see him making posts on Instagram with the NXT kids again, and it's just like he really do seem to be ingratiated in the company now, differently than he was when you think about when he was on his way out. But this is just well done, man. Like you mentioned, it's hard to imagine Roman losing, but if he was gonna go out, I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna let you move on. All of this could have been avoided if Roman knew how to actually tell somebody I'm sorry. Still never told the cousins I'm sorry. All he could tell Jay was yeet. All he could tell Jay was yeet. Barely apologize. Couldn't apologize to Sammy. Couldn't like just literally his whole all that he had is if Roman could actually come back remorseful and try to change. But no, he came back thinking everything was the same. And there you go, turned on again. and Seth being the person to shoot him in the back. How many times at this point in Roman's career he's gonna let Seth
Actually,
I think that's the last one. I think Seth
you
and
really
Roman
do
is the
make a
last
good
match.
point. You do make a good point because if you look back at all the sort of like shocking betrayals that Roman suffers throughout each of the bloodline, all of it could have been solved with a simple apology for each of their
Exactly.
turn. So you really point out a good thing that I didn't actually think about until now.
It's really that simple.
Roman's pride has actually prevented, actually been the cause of all of this sort of like slow decline for himself is extremely poetic.
Yeah, and I think the last match, I'm not sure when he will. I know he said he got like 1 or 2 manias left in him, but to me, his retirement match might have to be against Seth, and he might either Seth is going to put him out of his misery, or he's going to have to figure out a way to finally
It
get
has to
rid of
be. It
Seth
has to be.
because
It
that's the
has to
guy
be.
at the end of the day. It always comes back to Seth.
It has to be, especially because, as you say, Monty, they've got so much unfinished business. Think about going back to the Shield days. The whole reason for their breakdown of being a faction and a strong dominant faction as that was sort of Seth hitting Roman in the back first with the steel chair. How poetic at this sort of like main event of WrestleMania did you have sort of Paul Heyman so say hand the chair to Seth just exactly like it was planned out with Triple H handing the chair to Seth, handing something over. It's
Yeah,
got to end with Seth and Roman if Roman is going to be retiring soon.
yeah.
Yeah, not before Drew beats him. But no offense to Jay and Gunther, but if this were the world title, this would rival, and it still does, the WrestleMania 20 Triple Threat main event. But I think world title on the line here would probably be in my top 5. We'll talk about Moxley mentioned as well. But Gina, the biggest thing is you saw this coming. You knew Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman would decide, and I bet you felt ever so smug.
Yeah, the G site came back to me and told me. I knew it. I knew it. But again, I think even just going off of like rewatching the match back, there was like moments that you could see like Roman was like pausing mid-match to just shout at Paul, like continue to like shout at him rather than even just plead with him and be like, I'm sorry, Paul, like you should be in my corner, but I'm sorry that you were pushed to this. Like you guys were just saying, he was just shouting at him like as if blaming him like for this match and blaming him for the situation he's in. And I think that's what made more sense because if you notice when Paul hits CM Punk below the belt, he's kind of like crying still at the betrayal he's doing to him. But when he hits Roman with that betrayal, he just has a face of anger, like he's had it, you know? And again, when you think back to like Roman shouting at Paul earlier in that match and just making him feel small and insignificant, probably just amps that betrayal up even more mid-match for Paul. So yeah, it was definitely great storytelling. It was so nice to kind of see it come full circle. You know, it all was going great for the tribal chief a few years ago, and just each WrestleMania is just gotten worse and worse and worse for him. So yeah, it's definitely interesting with the story, and I can see why it was a main event, because it was definitely shocking, and I think everyone was talking about that for hours after the event.
Yeah, without a doubt. Right, so scores then. Jaxie, what would you give it out of 5?
I mean, I'd also like to point out that just like my sister, I also called this Paul Heyman turn.
No,
So for
it's
that,
not about you, Jax. It's not about you. Okay, we've got a lot to do. Come on.
you just asked my opinion. Shush. For that reason alone, and for sort of the overall outcome of my predictions for the night, I was extremely pleased with this win, and so therefore I'm giving it 5 star. I'm biased.
Yeah, I'll just ask the score. Thank you very much. Monty?
Yeah, I'll give it 5 stars.
5 stars. And Gina?
Same 5 stars.
Yeah, I'm going to give it 5 stars as well. Overall, I was a little bit disappointed about the entrances, but I think Punk's, they saved the best one till last. There was a bit of a flat part as well with Val Grande, which should have been on kickoff or not at all. I mean, the kickoff's there for matches we don't want on the main card. That's what it's fucking there for. But the card delivered and the main event was a classic. So, Monty, I'll start with you. What are you going to rate night 1 out of 10?
I go probably an 8.25, I think, or 8.5, 8.5. As much as I did think it at some point didn't feel like Mania, like two probably specific points. I do think at the end of the day they wrestled hard, they worked hard, and I still enjoyed the show overall. To me, yes, I had my nitpicks, like you said, the advertising and oh my god, man, I'm gonna be honest with you, like that damn theme song. We was only just getting started though, James.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah, yeah,
I hate that. I
yeah,
hate it. But anyway, but yeah, they drilled that into your bleeping head.
yeah,
But yeah, overall 8.5. I still thought it was overall a good Mania thing. Uh, maybe Triple H was trying to save face, 'cause I do think this was like right after this he was talking about building the show and trying to point out how this show was kind of supposed to be. The way it came off to me is he talked about it like this show was supposed to be a little bit up and down, so you can walk away from Sunday with a special feeling. I don't know. I think you saving your ass. You still could book two banger nights if you wanted to, but whatever. We'll get there when we get there. But yeah, no, I thought overall I had fun with the show, even if I do think at some points it wasn't maybe as good as you would hope.
yeah. Gina, what would you give first night?
Yeah, I'll go with a 8.25 as well. Sorry, I was debating
8.25.
whether 8.5 or 8.25. I think 8.25 is good.
Yeah, it's always good to debate. Jaxie?
I'm gonna give it an 8.5 overall. I still think that there were like highs and lows on this match, but overall, I just think it still did hold well. We've got a lot to get into with night two, and maybe that will reflect the decision here.
Yeah, I'll go 8.75. I thought it was really, really good. MVP of the first night. Jackson, I'll come back to you. Who's your MVP?
I mean, it's a bit of a difficult one. I think I have to give it to Seth Rollins with a shout out to no, with a shout out to Paul Heyman just for kind of like sort of the shock ending that they left it on. I do also want to give a shout out to Jey Uso. I think he accomplished so much, and no matter where he was placed on the match card, I think that I still left night one feeling like really happy and pleased for what he was able to produce and what he did in WrestleMania. So yeah.
Cool. Gina, MVP?
I'm gonna give it to Jey Uso.
Monty?
Yeah, there's two things that happened on Saturday that I never thought I would see happen, and like two dreams kind of got completed. And I think it was Jey Uso winning the World Heavyweight Champion and CM Punk being in the main event. So those are my MVPs. I think this is probably the most memorable night for those two.
Yeah, they're my MVPs as well. And the match of the night, we'll agree, is the main event. But predictions is a big thing. Boys went for Roman, girls went Seth. So first night scores, James on 4, Jaxie, Gina, Monty on 6. So it means the WWE League at the moment,
Wow,
I'm on
James.
1. I'm on 1, Gina on 2, Monty, Jaxie on 3. So well done, guys. Well done. Well done.
Woo. Came away feeling
Yeah.
quite good about that.
I didn't know you did that.
I was so pleased. I was actually really, really proud of myself. I'm really pleased,
Yeah,
especially
great.
when you look at like where I was last year. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Oh
well
yeah.
done, guys.
Let's see how
Yeah.
night two happens so I can keep laughing at you.
Yeah, the streak is still alive, so we don't know. Press conference, we pick up with Roman and Punk leaving the ring. And then Joe Test, Biggie, and Rosenberg. Jackie grabs a word with Punk. Unfortunately, he doesn't say anything. Jey Uso had a press conference. Uso seemingly didn't waste any time starting the celebrations, appearing to slur his words and referring to himself as damn near world champion. Considering his match was on first, he did have a few hours to let it sink in. But Monty, this reminded me of Fastlane, and you got to love Jey Uso.
Yeah, man. Like I said, everybody wanted to find a reason to hate on him. They even found a way to hate on a man celebrating the biggest night of his career. And I'm just like, he a grown ass man. If he had a few drinks, is he legal?
Never changed, John.
Yeah,
Never
it
changed.
never changed, man. Like we love the drunk, just doing basically whatever you want. They had to cut Jay
I
off.
mean, he's just
Like
human.
literally.
He's just human. Any normal human after a big night like that and such an accomplishment, like, would
Right.
react exactly the
You're gonna
same.
enjoy.
Don't stop
Exactly.
him from just celebrating like something that is just like such an amazing thing that he probably never imagined was or expected in his life. Leave him, because if you put me in that position, I would have been exactly the same way, to be honest.
Yeah, and like I was saying, he was so into it that they told him it was last question, and Jay wanted more. They had to literally go to the next segment, and Jay was still sitting at the podium talking because Jay was just, having the time of his life. So it was great.
Well, Jay Cargill joined the panel. She looked like she had wrestled. That's how good she looked. She said she was nervous about her first Mania singles match, and she doesn't know if it's finished with Naomi. Tiffany Stratton press conference. Her face was a mess. She's emotional. Charlotte was her dream opponent. Jacob Fatu is happy. And then Triple H, he said the normal record breaking thing. He said the world is watching. He talks about the Triple A purchase. He said he likes Lucha Libre and keeps it traditional. But I'm pretty sure Triple A was made to be different than the traditional Lucha Libre. But hey, what do
Yeah.
I know? WWE is just one big family. What we all want now? On to the Slammies. Come on now. Kathy Kelly and Big E host. Theory and Waller on stage. Boogerman was there. Cody won the entrance. Our Truth actually made me think I was watching last year's awards when he said Cody
Right.
had two big matches. I was like, what? Where am I? What's going on? He sat next to Waller and Theory. Vic and Graves presenting Rock's Superstar of the Year. She potentially upset. Very nice heel work. For a Crow One breakout. Of course, social star was Drew. The crowd
Again.
loved him. The crowd loved him again for the second year in a row. Secret Service interrupted. There's just too many Scottish people. They stole the Slammy, but R-Truth got it back. Cactus Jack and Miz presented. Drew won Rivalry of the Year, another Slammy. Gargano and Waller apparently had heat. That was interesting. Blair and Cargill won Tag Team of the Year. I think that speaks to you about the women's tag team division. Megan Morant and Sam Roberts gave out an OMG moment for Cena's heel turn. They also had two Mania recap shows. The first one had an interview with Jay and a nice conversation with the New Day. That's the 90 minutes there in a sentence. Mankind gave us the WTF award. Match of the Year tied. It was Roman and Cody and Drew versus Punk. That's 3 Slammies for Drew. 3 Slammies. Other awards, most aura, which I guess is a more recent award. Jey Uso won that. Villain was Dom and Liv. Mic drop was Cody telling The Rock to go fuck yourself. Pretty Deadly were there. Yes, boy. Faction of the Year was Bloodline. Female Superstar was Liv. And then Dude Love presented Male Superstar with Cody winning for the second year in a row. And what's important about it, that Lee's are fan voted. So everybody loves Drew. Right, enough of that. On to the next night of Kickoff. Cole, McCaffrey, Wade, Big E. Same reports as yesterday. Byron sit down with Bianca. We got a part 2 of a sit down with Triple H. He's a genius, don't you know? Triple H talks up Cody and Cena and says we will be talking about it in 10 years' time. He was right in a way. He was right. Travis Scott, Tyler Breeze, and Jey Uso were opening cards. Byron with a charity that used to be on the main show. Kathy Kelly in the ring with her stylish 7. Inside, Joe Test with Tony H, who's a prick. They mentioned the roast. He said there will be surprises. There definitely was. Kathy sit down with Rhea. Cole sit down with Cody. Does anybody know who Killer Mike is? Anyone? Killer Mike?
Yes, I know him.
Oh, right, okay, cool. At least someone does then.
Atlanta rapper. He's way better than Travis Scott.
Okay, and who's Ava Max?
Pop star.
Okay, well, she sang the national.
Not that good to me, but yeah, there you go.
No. Well, she
It's
sang the national
not my
anthem.
taste.
Yeah, the national anthem, it's really, really good to kind of work with that crowd. Night 2 kickoff was helped by highlights of night 1. But that's 3 hours. There we go. Main show. Recap of night 1. Stephanie McMahon welcomed us, and we started with a triple threat match for the Women's World Championship. Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Io Sky. There was an absolutely deafening pop for Ripley coming out, and there was boos for Belair and Sky. Set up to prove early she was not going to be enough fault in this match. Ripley delivered a razor's edge to Sky, tossing her into Belair. There were so many justified this This is awesome chance that I can't fit them all in. Sky used an arm drag to counter a superb riptide from the top rope. She missed the moonsault and Belair delivered a kiss of death, but Ripley broke up the motherfucker. Belair uncorked a vicious whip with a braid to Ripley, followed by the KOD. But Sky took advantage of the two and hit the over the moonsault for the victory. I can finally take a breath now. Thank fuck for that. Monty, what were your thoughts on this opener?
This is probably the first time I've ever felt like we had a main event that was like a certain stipulation, a triple threat, for example, here. And then we had the next night start off or with that same stipulation, and then you come out somehow you get something better than the perfect seeming main event we already got. I mean, the chemistry here was off the chart. Like all three ladies were on their game. The crowd was really into it, really invested here, no matter which way it went. And honestly, I was just generally impressed with everybody. I mean, EO selling was amazing. And if I listed how much stuff I liked about this match, I feel like I would forget something. So, like you said, like we always kind of say here, when a match is just incredible, I know anybody who haven't watched has probably heard about it. Please, what about highlights of the weekend? Like I love Over Trick and Javon banger triple threat match. We talked about that on NXT update. We just talked about Punk and Roman and the theatrics here. This was a triple threat dramatic with theatrics, but it was all wrestling. Like straight up, just keep, next spot. And they were fighting hard for the championship. And it had the championship stakes. So to me, I don't know how you can get anything better than this. This possibly, I saw people talking about this. I don't know. I might be biased. Either way it go, Bianca is involved. Bianca and Sasha is hard to beat to me in my mind, but to be honest, this might be the greatest women's match in WrestleMania history, easily. That's how great this was. The finish was perfectly executed out of nowhere with the moonsault. I think EO was the right winner if you think about the angle. Beautiful stuff, man. Just beautiful stuff. I can't say enough about all three of them. They're all stars in their own right. Bianca and Rhea will meet again down the line, and EO being champion right now and walking out of WrestleMania on top and giving us another banger just like she did last year with Bayley. Chef's kiss, man. Her family was there. They were crying. This is beautiful, man. Beautiful way to start the night. And man, what a tone they set. 5 stars easy.
Yeah, but not only one of the best women's matches at WrestleMania, but like I said, in the history and as a WrestleMania opener in itself. Like I said, after also talking about the other two fantastic triple threat match this weekend, and the third one may be the best. I mean, Gina, they started fast and then just didn't stop, did they?
Yeah, honestly, Monty just described it perfectly. I also agree, thinking it could be up there as one of the greatest women's matches for WrestleMania. It was just executed perfectly. And again, Io's moonsault at the very end was very well placed to hit both of them, but still give a majority of the hit to Bianca to then get the pin on top of her. It was just great. There were so many good spots. And like, even with Bianca getting the boos when she first came out, the crowd forgot about the boos halfway through the match because she showcased her strength. And literally the crowd just went wild for it because I think she held, she was doing the rolling sort of moonsaults with EO and then lifted her and did the march in the ring and then hit her down. She just killed it. And then she was getting, cheered again. So the crowd was just, for backing every single woman because the match was just that great. Again, I agree. I think EO should have come out champ in that match because of how ignored she was by both of them sort of leading up to this. It just made sense. And again, I think none of them looked bad in this. I don't think it mattered who took the pin either because all three of them just looked so top form. And yeah, I enjoyed this match. It was one of my favorites on the match card.
Yeah, without doubt. The champion came out first and it worked last night, so I suppose it would work. And this was Rhea's 6th Mania title match in a row. And Jaxie, I know Monty and Gina made excellent points about the match, but I think one thing they haven't talked about is how Ripley keeps getting a positive reaction, whereas the fans are kind of soured a little bit on Bianca Belair.
Yeah, again, I think they kind of like pointed that out, like sort of from the beginning start of the match, Bianca was getting a majority of the boos. Halfway through, that sort of slowly changed, as my sister mentioned. You know, like she was doing some excellent spots. There were some excellent moments from all of the wrestlers. I think everything that's been said already is 100% how I feel. This match easily could have been like the main event of either night of WrestleMania for me. It was that electrifying. Even to start off in at the start of night two, it was a good placement and it really had the crowd like wild. Like you couldn't sleep on this match or turn away or anything because you would miss something. As you pointed out, James, like right from the very start of the bell ringing, it just went like from 0 to 100 really quickly, and these three women just went non-stop. I have to commend all three. This was definitely one of my favorite matches of the night card across the whole of the weekend of WrestleMania. And all three women should be commended for what they did in the ring. It was incredible. I don't know whether or not this continued hate is going to lead into any sort of creative storyline with Bianca going further past this trio. We'll have to see what's to come in like the next few sort of episodes of Raw and SmackDown, I suppose. But again, this match was like so on point. It was definitely one of my favorites of the night.
Yeah, and my favourite call of the night from Michael Cole, because of course his commentary is the soundtrack of our lives, saying EO somehow landed on her face. But Monty, as you know, EO is so cool. What would you score this out of 5?
Yeah, I give it 5 stars, man. Awesome moment. She is one of the greatest of all time. I think that's been solidified not only with this moment, you know, it's always already solidified outside of WWE, but moments and matches like this, I don't know how you can deny EO being one of the greatest of all time. And you know, and I think Bianca too, her WrestleMania resume. Look at those matches. It ain't one of them that was bad. Bianca, like her resume is insane. I know it would have been nice to keep the streak going, but this was special, man. 5 stars easily.
Yeah, it really was. Gina?
Yeah, 5-star for me.
Yeah, and Jax?
Yep, 5 star.
Yeah, predictions all went EO apart from me. Stupid. So the rest are on 1, I'm on 0. Up next, my man, Drew McIntyre. Fuck knows what he's dressed like, but he did look good. Oh, it's some advertising stuff, that's fine. This is McIntyre's 10th WrestleMania match. He's 5-4 at the moment, and it has been a real mix of opponents. This time it's a Sin City Street Fight versus Damian Priest and Slayer. Played Priest to the ring, but Monty had to tell me who they were. McIntyre continued his trend of live tweeting during Mania, taking the phone from his brother and commenting on the contest. And our Drew avenged the year of defeats and shortcomings to Priest by defeating him in a physical, violent Sin City street fight. Both men brutalizing each other with chairs, ring steps, and more. Like I said, the Scott tweeted, shoved Priest off the ropes through 2 tables and finished him off with a claymore into the steel chair to set up the victory. Gina, what were your thoughts on my man?
Yeah, this match was great. It didn't go for too long. I thought it was going to go on much longer than it did, but I I got to give it to Drew. He's so entertaining to watch. He's become like such a favorite. He's unpredictable again. The fact that he sat and took a selfie saying that he was bored at work again in this match is just everything. It's hilarious. Um, but I also think that it didn't make Damien look bad. I think Damien still had really great spots in the match, gave, Drew a good beating as well. I think it was the right thing to do in giving Drew the win because his character is so over at the moment. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Mm. Yeah, no, it was good. It was good. I mean, there was one moment, I'm not going to lie, because obviously over WrestleMania weekend, you have to kind of fit it in. And my dad was watching this kind of in the background, and I had to explain to him, Jaxie, because he was going, why is he talking so much shit? And I was going, Drew always does this. Drew always does this. But, the thing about Drew is that he's always delivering. We might not have Undertaker, but we got that Drew drive. And to see a guy that size doing that, and to be fair, the table bumps and the finish, everything was on point.
It was. And again, I feel like I mentioned this a bit earlier on, but this was definitely a more slept upon match to be placed on the match card, but it delivered. I think that Drew's character work has just been excellent, and I think like this showcased both men really well. It was really hard to kind of like pinpoint who could actually win this because both men could handle it. It was just beast versus beast. There was like, certain moments that really made highlighted, how well both men um have done. Like, if you think back to where they both sort of originated from and how far they've come, I think that they both complemented each other so well. They did so well in the ring. And it was just such a banger. I found myself really enjoying this more than what I thought I would have. And again, Drew's character work is great. The moment that he took like that selfie and then I think he like reposted it and stuff, being like bored at work, like honestly, I think this is some of his best work. He's just so entertaining and such a mood. So I can't be mad at him for that. I really found myself enjoying this. This is one of my favorite matches on the match card. I just thought they did so well.
Yeah, the only thing that distracted me was Monty being drunk and shouting about Trump during this, but I still enjoyed it. Beast Drew, as we said. But Monty, to be fair, Priest is in a bit of a weird place because I think the crowd's a little bit behind Drew more. But you kind of are when you had that first world title run to see if you can kind of go again, really, isn't it? It's a weird place wrestlers find themselves in where you become a multiple time champion or not.
Yeah, and WWE just never manages to, unless it happens organically. Like his turn did start off very hot and organic and a nice feud with Gunther, but at the same time, I do believe that he kind of lost steam and kind of got bland as time went on. And like you say, he's kind of had to find himself, kind of had to rebuild himself back up to that world champion status. But I do think at the end of the day, he still performed well here. And I do think at the end of the day, this match kind of made Drew look like the better man overall. But I don't think it was like such a foregone conclusion for Drew that Priest looked like a slouch. So they did a good job making it competitive, making it a pretty good fight. But Drew's just ended up being a little bit too much, despite his cockiness. But I think it worked. I think it really worked out. This was a really fun match. Like mentioned earlier, I don't think it was as long as I thought, but at the same time, I think that kind of worked for some of the stuff they were doing. Like it was so physical what they had going, so brutal that it probably don't need to go 20 minutes because they were working pretty hard with the 10 to 12 minutes, 15 minutes they had. So I came away impressed overall with both guys, and so I think that's a positive when you really think about a feud that I don't think, like you said, going into this, people were looking forward to it maybe as much as somebody like a Drew McIntyre would demand. But he seemed to always deliver when he's given some type of narrative to lean into, and I think this was really fun overall. I thought they executed the match really well, and they kept the momentum of the match going good. Because when you're going after a banger like we just talked about, for them, in my opinion, to still have the crowd excited and not lose much steam, I think that's impressive all on its own if you really think about it.
Yeah, without a doubt. Right, so scores out of 5 for that one. Gina, what would you give it?
Um, four and a quarter.
4 1/4. Jackson?
I gave this a 4 3/4. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, and Monty?
I gave 4.5.
Yeah, I gave it 4 3/4. Predictions, we went Drew, so I finally get the first point. And the rest are on too as we go to the Fatal 4-Way match for the Intercontinental Championship. Bron Breakker versus Penta versus Dominic Mysterio versus Finn Balor. Don wore then struggled with a mask, Oh, well, damn zip. That was Rey Mysterio, the original Rey Mysterio Senior, I guess it would be. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Breaker manhandled falls in this matchup. It was a total showcase for the IC champion. Mysterio attempted at 619, but Balor caught him and stomped a hole in him. Carlito interfered multiple times, including pulling Breaker to the floor, but Breaker ran off and won an out table and drove Carlito through the other one in a breathtaking moment. Ultimately, it was the Judgment Day teammates who defined the closing moments. After a normal spear from Breaker to Carlito, like we said, through the announce table, Balor's coup de grace to the champion. Dom season opening and produced a frog splash. Second later, he pinned Balor and became your new Intercontinental Champion. I don't know what's more surprising, that or the huge pop from the crowd. Jaxie, what were your thoughts on this?
Yeah, this match is like bittersweet in terms of my opinion from a prediction point of view, but it was like so surprisingly like well put together and good, and just told like this epic story for the Judgment Day, you know, from like the sort of like uh cooperation between Finn and Dominic right from the very get-go up until halfway through the match. You know, it was telling this story of, you know, what's to come. It's really hard because I really, prediction wise, I went with Finn, so I really just believe like Finn deserves this. But you can't deny the pop that Dominic got picking up that pin. And before we even go there, uh, I hope Carly is okay and breathing on his own accord. That spear, like just that Braun continues to make such epic spear type moments. That was just incredible, and I could not help but laugh. I'm sorry, Carlito. That was just an amazing spot and an amazing moment, and just really hyped up the crowd again. But yeah, this was quite a shocking win that I didn't see, like, you know, sort of coming around this type of way, and yet still worked in a way where like the energy from the crowd for Dom, considering everything that he's gone through with the heel turn against his own father, he again, just like Jay, has like just gone on this epic journey from when you look back at like previous WrestleManias he's had and the type of matches he's been a part of. So this was such a feel good moment to actually see him get that crowd reaction where it was like in support of him rather than how much he's been continuously hated on, and you know, just booed to the point he couldn't even speak on the mic. So to see this epic turnaround, it was definitely feel good. So yeah, a bittersweet match for me because of my prediction loss, but ultimately I really thought this was a great match, showcased all four men well. I don't think it's hurt anyone sort of taking the loss with how well put together this match was. So for me, I really enjoyed this. I gave this 4 3/4.
Yeah, 4 3/4. No, this was really good stuff. And Monty, let me talk about the crowd reaction and if it go into it. I think the only issue I had was, again, it was about 10 minutes, so maybe could have been given a little bit more time.
Yeah, you can tell it's moving at a breakneck pace to get everything in, but I do think that I don't like I don't know if that I think that kind of benefited, especially the finish when you think about how kind of everything came together really quick. But yeah, man, this is really cool, man. I can't be mad at this. This was a fun match. Everybody had great moments. Involving Carlito was great. I thought the dynamics of Finn and Dominic trying to take advantage of Finn a couple times, and even making it seem like Finn finally was going to be able to capitalize, and then let Dominic swoop in and kind of steal it. I think that's just a perfect way. And a lot of people seem to be shocked about how he could go from so over as a heel to immediately over as a babyface. But I think for me, it was simple. I don't think the fans truly hated him, especially as time went on. Maybe at first when you turn on Rey Mysterio, but as time went on and he started to do other things and get involved with the Judgment Day and like the even with turning on Rhea, like Dom started to get more and more props for a lot of his antics and things that he was doing. And they've done a great job of kind of depicting him as gullible and also he's very relatable. Like I know a lot of people may laugh off the whole chicken tender thing and all of that, but like all of that stuff that he talks about all the time. If you ever watch an interview from him outside of the ring, I think another thing that helps is that he's always done. He's never changed his character. He will shit on Rey Mysterio for no reason because that's what Dominic Mysterio does. He talks about his deadbeat dad, and I think that element of staying in character, being committed to it, has slowly but surely gotten him more and more over to the point to where even in this situation where you can kind of see Liv Morgan kind of manipulating the relationship between Finn and Dom, the people chose Dom, and I think uh, it's because we watched this kid grow up. I know if you're a long time fan, You've been here since the Dominic and Ray angle, way the Dominic Ray and Eddie angle way back in the day. So to see him in the maturation process, and then think about how he was when he was young and shaved head with Ray, and how he was still learning and hadn't even been in front of a pandemic crowd, to like mentioned earlier, where the crowd wouldn't even let him speak, to where he is now. It was a beautiful moment, especially them telling him to run back to the ring and him being able to kind of soak it in with the crowd. It's incredible. He has a chance to be a huge superstar. And I hope that they keep, in my opinion, what makes him unique is that he's always been dumb. I hope they keep that about him, even if he was to have to turn more face. I think where what happens is, like I mentioned with kind of priests or whatever, a lot of people lose what makes them unique when they turn face. So hopefully Dom can continue to take advantage of situations, continue to cheat, and not necessarily change who he is. And I feel like he'll be over like cats and dogs, similar to how Eddie was, in a similar vein to where he kind of kept it going. Even though he acted, he cheated and lied, everybody loved Eddie because that was Eddie. And I think Dom has a chance to, might not have to do the exact same way as Eddie, but I do think if he continued to be who he is, who the people obviously gravitated to and like, he could be one of the biggest baby faces in the company, especially when, and it's crazy when you think about him being one of the biggest bad guys over the last few years. So I think the work has been put in, the timing is there, the wrestling is caught up with the character work, and I'm ready to ride to see exactly how far we're willing to go with this Dominic Mysterio thing. But I thought this was a very beautiful crowning achievement moment for Dominic Mysterio.
Yeah, I mean, there was a few moments in this matchup, Gina. Like talk about Penta getting his WrestleMania moment and the Lucha Brothers, having that even if it is in defeat. Braun's first of many WrestleMania matches. You can't believe really it's his first, but how good he is, and of course the Dirty Dom moment as well. All in all, it was quite a good story to tell in the end.
Oh, for sure. I mean, all four of them had, in a way, their own story to tell at this WrestleMania, and it just felt like all four of them got that moment to shine. I thought they did so well to work with each other, and again, the shock in the hype that is there for Dom is really nice to see where he's come from the boos. Like you said, he wasn't even able to speak with the crowd. Like I've never heard someone so booed like, and you got to think about like, from the years that we've watched wrestling. For me, I was like, okay, never betray Rey Mysterio. You're gonna get the Dominic treatment. But honestly, just to even to see him do that run back and celebrate with the crowd and to see the pure joy on his face, I felt really happy for him, and it made me feel super old because I remember when he was a little kid in his custody battle storyline, and I feel old, just seeing him win this belt. But I'm so pleased for him and happy for him that I can't help but think, oh crap, I've now turned and I'm one of those fans who's now cheering for him too, instead of saying, oh, get lost, Dom. So it is a really nice feeling to see it all come about. I was quite, I didn't know where it exactly was going to go. I had a feeling like Braun might lose it here, but I didn't know whether it was going to go to Finn, with Finn turning on Dom and taking the belt for himself. But it seemed to go the other way around, and I'm not mad at it. I'm just mad at losing the win here.
No, but it happens, doesn't it, to the best of us. But like we said, it was a really good matchup. So scores out of 5 then. Monty, what would you give this one?
I give 4.5.
4.5. I've already got Jaxie's score. So Gina?
Yeah, 4.5 as well.
The thing that annoyed me here is Michael Cole saying that they've never had a four-way match for the Intercontinental title. They have, but it was elimination back at WrestleMania 15, which lasted less than this matchup. So fuck you, Michael. I'm going to give this a 4. Like I said, Don ran back to the ring to get cheers. Predictions all went Balor, apart from me. I went wrong, so we're all wrong. I'm on 1, the rest is on 2. Up next, Randy Orton, and I tell you what, it's a damn shame we don't get the Kevin Owens match, but he wanted an opponent, and say his name, and he appears. It is the TNA champion, Joe Hendry. I kid you not, I woke up the house. People asked if we were getting burgled or something like that because I was truly shouting. This was truly a holy shit moment for me. I know people might not know who he is, but the 60K in attendance sure did. And Hendry dominated this battle with the power and good looks only he can bring. But when Joe hit his traditional back to camera and turn, he unfortunately turned into an RKO out of nowhere. And after showing respect, Randy hit him with another RKO. Monty, what were your thoughts on this?
Hey man, chef's kiss, man. You know, when you think about it, the original match getting canceled in 2 weeks. You know, I saw a lot of people talking about Hendry got buried and TNA champion is this and that, and it's just that's so much nonsense to me, man. Like you mentioned, 60,000 people, the biggest platform ever for a TNA World Champion, was were on their feet making noise to his song. If you didn't know who Joe Hendry was, a lot of people probably Googled YouTube, probably saw the same video of that song that has already had like 8 million, 9 million views on YouTube before this. So Joe Hendry has been rising and building and only becoming more and more popular. And for somebody who kind of did it so organically, you know, I knew about him before he was even in Impact, just on the, you know, just in the UK and just hearing the name. I used to see him on YouTube every now and then wrestling matches. So to see how far he's kind of come on his own, doing this organically, doing it himself, and to now be at WrestleMania. I don't know if it's true, but they said Randy was given a list of names and Joe was the one Randy chose. I don't know if that was actually true or if that's been disputed or not. But if that is even true, or the fact that Randy saw his name and thought, "Wow, I want the opportunity. I'm gonna get this guy an opportunity." That is so freaking cool. You don't understand how cool that is. And then whether it was a 2 minute, 3 minute match, it made sense. It wasn't like he got immediately in the ring and lost. Like, no, he took his eye off Randy Orton. And you know, everybody in WWE knows you can't do that. You can't mess around when Randy Orton is your opponent. And you know, Randy doing the gimmick also after the match, just just incredible stuff. I couldn't ask for much more when you think about the fact that we are replacing a competitive contest with an actual story beat into it. What I would have liked them trying to do a Nick Aldis thing, sure. But what we ended up being it was a viral moment, I will admit. Maybe that was more so the goal of it. But at the same time, I think at the end of the day, it was so awesome for a guy who done worked so hard for so long to be given that spot and given that opportunity. I don't know, man. I couldn't ask for much more. You know him even more than I do. You know more intimate to this story than I am, James. So I was really cool with this though. I really liked it, but I know some Impact fans weren't happy. So I know you watch more Impact than any of us. So if it is an angle there, you let me know. But I thought it was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, this is mad, especially because it's Randy Orton's 20th WrestleMania, and Joe has now had a match at Mania against Randy Orton. He even had his own WrestleMania tops. Can I just say, wave your hands from side to side? But like I said, Monty, I've been beating this drum a long time, and TNA have featured at WrestleMania. They finally made it. We believe Orton doing the taunt. You know, I don't care what anybody says, right? They say TNA is ruined. Before WrestleMania, they had Rebellion coming up. Joe Hendry has appeared at WrestleMania and they've sold out Rebellion. They're going to have 5,000 people at this place to watch
I,
TNA. And that is thanks to Joe Hendry showing up at WrestleMania. 3 minute squash, wherever it is, I don't know. But I might be biased. Hang on. Let me have a look. Gina, I mean, what do you think? Because you probably were like, who the fuck is this?
No, I knew of Joe Hendry actually, and that's actually thanks to Jaxie. She keeps me up to date with some news. So whenever belts change with TNA, she does fill me in on these things, and I remember her telling me about him. So I knew who he was. And to be honest, I was more like Monty. I was like, oh, fair play. He's been put on this platform. However, I will say I do want to come back to this if we discuss any after all stuff, because I do want to come back to this moment. But at the moment when he came out, I wasn't mad at it. I did think because Kevin is gone, and he's not able to have this match, they're not going to be able to build up a big storyline to put us in Randy in a match where we think, oh wait, will he win or will he lose? So I knew it was going to be kind of, more of a feel good squash match moment for WrestleMania. I didn't think it was going to be a long match, whoever Randy faced. So for me, I was quite happy for him, and I was quite interested because I haven't seen him actually wrestle yet. I just knew of him. So for me, this was getting to see him. as sort of a new fan of him in case he is showcased a bit more on WWE TV, you know? So yeah, I wasn't mad at it. I thought it was a good match, and I think there was, funny, memeable moments, and that's what WWE want. They're all about the viral moments, aren't they? So that's what this brought.
Yeah, without a doubt. So Jaxie, what are your thoughts, and start us off with your scores out of 5 as well, even though it wasn't a proper match, I know.
Yeah, I think I just have the same views as both Monty and Gina. Also, I mean, after you just explained that about Rebellion being sold out, I mean, how can you not say that this match didn't achieve anything? So fair enough. And I was very excited. I know who Joe Hendry is. I've watched a couple of his matches. Um, and yeah, I was pretty excited to see it was him because I was not expecting that. And it was a bit of excitement to the fact and the nod of him representing TNA. And I just, have really been behind, these joint wrestling productions, like, doing collaborations like this. It does give greater context to indie wrestling. This is exactly how Jordan Grace got into NXT, and she's doing an excellent job there. So why not actually give more recognition even to the likes of Joe Hendry, who really has been making a stamp on the indie scene. So I was happy to see this. I thought that they could have given it a bit longer just to, maybe give a bit more of a feature to Joe Hendry and what he could bring. I don't really, from other matches I've seen him in, I don't really think that we saw what a great impact that he actually does have, and he has stood out for me from watching a few of his matches. But I was definitely intrigued to see, where this continued collaboration is going to go after hearing the AAA news and now seeing TNA's like Joe Hendry featured. These are all good things. We want to see these collaborations. We want to see that more promotions are open to the idea of collaboration work. This is how we get some of our more favorite indie wrestlers noticed. So this could only be a good thing for me. I'll give this a 4.25. I thought it did what it needed to do. I really kind of knew that Joe Hendry wasn't going to pick up the win here because this was more about Randy and KO. I didn't really see Randy losing it here. But I still think it ultimately gave that shock appeal that was what both TNA and WWE were after. And like you said, it produced those results.
Without a doubt. Monty, what would you score it?
I give it 3 3/4.
3 3/4. And Gina?
Yeah, I'll give it a 4.
I'm going to give it a 4.5. Nearly gave it match of the night. But holy shit, though, I mean, I don't care if people think it's a squash. Predictions, we all went Randy, so I'm on 2, the rest on 3. At this point, all 4 matches had delivered a legendary night. Now Logan Paul had to fuck it up as he faced AJ Styles. Styles refused to revert to his evil ways, and it cost him in his match as Paul's manager attempts to sneak him a pair of brass knuckles, carrying Cross to emerge from nowhere to stop him. Asked Styles to embrace his dark side and utilize him. Instead, AJ just hit Cross, attempted to follow him with forearm, dodged it, got hit with a pulverizer, and Logan. I mean, I don't even fucking know what he is now. I think maybe 3-0. The only thing I'm going to say, and Gina, I'll come to you about this matchup because I rewatched WrestleMania. I didn't rewatch this match, and I barely paid attention first time round. But credit to Logan's moonsault. He hit it from 3/4 of the ring. I mean, that's cool.
Yeah, I think that's a positive to take out of this match for sure. Um, no offense to either of them, but I think at this point I was maybe feeling a bit dead or just over it. So I wasn't too energetic for this match. This was my kind of okay, I can sit back and relax. I don't need to have a Paul Heyman heart spasm match. So yeah, I mean, like you said, the moonsault was hit pretty well. They both did well. I'll give them that. I just wasn't really interested. I think the most interesting part was Karrion Cross coming out and trying to get AJ to do something. So for me, I give more props to Karrion Cross for trying to be like, you cannot get yourself embarrassed by this idiot who's on social media famous. You cannot just do something. So that for me was the most interesting part of the match. And then just to see AJ not really get it, it's kind of like the typical face angle, you know, which I think maybe it would have made it more interesting had he actually chosen to go, fuck it, I'm gonna go back to the heel tactics and just pick it up. I think that would have made the match a little bit more interesting for me. Um, so yeah, I think overall there's not really much else I can say about this match, unfortunately.
Well, no. Why did AJ hit Cross as well? That was the only other thing. I was like, that's a bit of an overreaction. Just say
Yeah, you
no.
could have just said no.
Yeah.
Just say no. Like put your hand up and say, Carrion, no. Just
No.
say that.
No.
You
Yeah.
didn't need to hit him.
No. And Jaxie, he just well, you watch this match, you wonder how long it took to plan. You know, how many times did they run through this match up in training to get to this point?
Oh, yeah, I mean, this at this point on night two was the beginning of like the downfall of what became night two for me in WrestleMania. Um, I don't know whether or not I would. I feel like this match should have come much earlier on. Get it over and fucking done with. You could tell like the only energy that was really coming from the crowd really was just anything anti Logan Paul. I really do agree with you as well. I really don't understand the necessity for AJ to hit Carrion like that. I don't really think that Carrion like deserved that. And to be honest, I don't really know what that amounted to, what AJ thought was going to come from that when you're easily distracting yourself, then like realizing what is right in front of you. Um, yeah, this match was just there for me. I'm not gonna like praise it, other than like AJ really tried his best to make Logan Paul look good, and there were certain moments, like you said, with the moonsault that actually was pretty impressive. So I'll give Logan Paul that. Again, I just was not interested though. So I don't know if that's more biased in sort of my rating for this match, but I just could not have, sorry AJ, but I could not have cared less for this match. So yeah, I think 3 1/4. That's the best I can do.
Pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, Monty, is there anything? I mean, like, so we just don't care. I think the crowd reaction shows that they're starting to lose interest a little bit.
Yeah, I think the biggest point, like you guys mentioned, like Cross's involvement. I'd say going into the bill, his involvement was like the best part of this angle so far. And like when you got somebody who's not even really directly involved in the match, being the most interesting thing about your angle, that doesn't really bode well, in my opinion, for the like you said, the investment in the match. Even though I thought AJ was still hitting a lot of the greatest hits, still wrestling his ass off, and like again, I don't think he's mid losing it at all. And I thought Logan did well enough with, like you said, basically doing what we know he does at this point. Like at the end of the day, Logan is solid to really good in the ring, and he's really good for somebody who wasn't naturally trained. But the investment in his character at some point, even if like we gotta, I think sometimes I think because I know now that he feels like he's a professional wrestler. He mentioned it. We'll talk. You can talk about it in the press conference, but he mentioned it all the time now that he's legitimately. He don't feel like he's going anywhere. He don't feel like a part timer. So with that being said, that kind of, in my opinion, made me feel like, oh yeah, they gave him a new finisher, and he keeps talking about how he's not going anywhere. He's a professional wrestler now. So I was like, well, that don't spell well for you, AJ. And then you talk about the actual angle of it all, and how Cross is, trying to get him to do whatever it takes to beat him. And I knew AJ in this stage wouldn't. So it all kind of played out the way you expected it to play out. But yeah, overall, it did still kind of come off as underwhelming. But at this point, what was your expectation? Like if your expectation was that it would be a solid to decent match, and you kind of knew it was going to play out with Paul winning like that, then I think it did exactly what it was supposed to do. But if you came into it hoping some kind of underrated surprise, you know, that was going to keep you into the show, then yes, you definitely came away disappointed. I give it 3.5. I don't think it was bad wrestling. I just think that at the end of the day, especially for WrestleMania, we talked about it earlier with the El Grande and even the New Day stuff. At the end of the day, this is WrestleMania. We should care about all of these matches to some extent. The fact that we got a match like this that the angle or whatever it is, or people in the match that we're not really into like that, I I think that that's bad booking in my opinion for a big show like this.
Yeah, without doubt. Gina, what would you score this out of 5?
Uh, 3.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 3.5. Predictions: we went Logan, so I'm on 3. The rest is on 4. WWE Women's Tag Team Championship next. And after Bailey's injury, Lyra had to find a new partner. So it was Liv Morgan and Raquel versus Lyra Vaquera and the returning Becky Lynch. And the match was a solid tag team affair that saw Lyra take most of the beating from the heels and Lynch make the hot tag and unload on the champions, leading to the manhandle slam to Morgan. And your new tag team champions are Lyra and Lynched. And to be fair, I mean, I don't know how negative we're going to be about it, Jaxie, but I actually popped when I saw Becky Lynch. It was nice to see her. I don't know what you feel.
Uh,
I mean, I didn't
I
cry.
want to say it was nice to see her. Like, what I want to say, it's nice to see her back in a wrestling ring because it's been a long time. But this decision really like angered me, and I know that this will probably cause a lot of controversy, but it's more from like, I give a lot of shit to someone like Charlotte Flair for definitely being a nepo baby and getting away with a lot of like instant chances for shit. And I'm not trying to scream that like Becky Lynch has not actually worked her way up to that sort of fame. However, when given like a lot of like sort of the backstage stuff we've seen with the fact that Bailey is not in fact actually injured at all, and also kind of what we will probably go into when we discuss the Raw after Mania, I'm annoyed. I'm kind of pissed. Like, I'm talking overall. I'm also talking prediction wise. I should have seen this coming, so I'm also kind of mad and pissed at myself for not seeing this coming. Um, to be honest, no, there was no shock whatsoever when this happened because I think after our live prediction uh pod, I really was just like, of course, this is what they're doing. It was really hard, I must admit, to try and even enjoy any aspect of this match. Do I think that the wrestling was still good? Yes. But, like, again, not the greatest I've seen. And I think that there's a lot of bitterness that clearly overcame sort of like my emotions to even try and enjoy this match. We'll go a lot further into sort of like how I'm feeling, especially after we go into Raw. But like, safe to say, I think that this outcome was not surprising, but really annoyed me.
Yeah, I can't tell. No, but in all seriousness, yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, I enjoy. I mean, Monty, this this is one of either going to love it or hate, I suppose. And I think WrestleMania sometimes you need these moments. But can I just mention as well, Liv's outfit was not safe for work.
No, but was it actually needed though? I'm sorry. Was it actually needed? Especially with what we're about to discuss going further into Raw. It like, yeah, that's my question back to you. Was it actually needed?
We're gonna leave that rhetorical. You're right about Liv outfit by the way.
Yeah.
Insane. That's all I say about it. I'm a married man. Strike down blondes away from me, Lord. Anyway, what I will say about the match itself was that it was just. I think the thing was is that it was all about the moment for Becky, like because the match wasn't really much of a match either. Like it'd probably be different if they went out there and had a competitive knockdown, drag out, title change type of thing. But it wasn't. Really, it was like it was short, nice and sweet, manhandle slam. Becky gets revenge for the cage match that I don't even know how many people actually remember. Like Michael Cole called Liv at one point. I don't know if that was Raw or here, where he called Liv her Becky's arch nemesis. And I'm like, really? Arch nemesis? That's what we said? Like, really? We're gonna act like that beef was that deep? But
No,
anyway,
but you know what? Just going from what you say right there, Monty, I also saw someone's tweet where it read like why the F is Liv acting absolutely terrified of Becky Lynch right now after like everything that she went through with Rhea Ripley and didn't like feel scared at all. She was like embracing it, and all of a sudden she's looking like she's wimping out to like Becky Lynch and looking terrified for what reason? You know?
That was an element of it. And honestly though, I don't know. I don't know if I would have. I think to be honest though, James, you know what really hurt this, if we want to really be honest about it? It was just the way it was executed. It was, to be honest, I really don't think it would be people be that mad about Becky returning like this if the dirt sheets didn't exist. And what I mean by that is, if you could have did the angle with Bailey and nobody knew anything about Bailey's actual status, but it was like immediately after that, before the next night even happened, we already know that Bailey's not hurt apparently or whatever. And it's just like, how the hell, what? You know, so anyway, besides that, I just feel like the execution played a factor to me because once I saw it go down, it was only one name went in my mind. I know me and you, James, probably thought about. I know some people in NXT fans may have thought about Tatum. I was like, ain't no way. Tatum already another team,
Yeah,
and
people
it
be
ain't
like,
happening on
what?
WrestleMania, right? Yeah, people would
Yeah.
be so confused if she came out there. But the Becky connection, I was like, it was enough of that on TV. They're both Irish, so even if they don't remember the fact that that she kind of like her protege, so to speak, that you could explain it away just by that, them being from the same country. So I knew immediately that meant Becky because I knew she was there for the Hall of Fame. She kind of had put out a tweet about how great her husband was after he turned heel. You know, so this was great from for that element. For the surprise for all the people who really love Becky and seeing her. This was great for that. But the match itself, not much to sneeze at. New tag champions. Uh, again, I knew Becky wouldn't lose. Once I figured Becky was in the match, I was like, yeah, man, you think she coming back to lose? Please.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Lara will get the rub, but I think she made a mistake with that many feathers, Gina, because again, Jackson might not know these things, but I was going, who's cleaning that up? And why would you bother with that? Because it's just going everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, this has happened in a couple of Lyra's
Oh,
matches now,
I
where
know.
the end scene of her match just looks like someone's plucked a chicken in the middle of the ring. It's great for her aesthetic and everything that she's going for, but Jesus, it's so funny when you're just seeing feathers flying about. Um, so yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I was also irritated for similar reasons as to Jaxie said. Um, but I again, it more bleeds into what happens with Raw as well for what makes this decision so annoying. But again, I'll go deeper into that in a bit. But yeah, the match was fine. I know that Liv said that her outfit was based off a Sabrina Claudio outfit. I mean, I don't really care. Is it Sabrina Claudio or someone? Someone. She modeled it off of
Right,
some
whoever it
singer's
is, I'm
outfit.
thankful. I'm thankful.
Yeah, and I'm just like, either way, yeah, I'll try and just focus on
Carbon
the
girl,
actual wrestling
another
skill.
blonde that the Lord should keep away from me. Lord, thank you.
Mm.
I rebuke these
I
blondes.
mean, for me, I still feel like, it would have been better for Liv and Raquel to retain here, regardless as to who the team up was going to be. So, yeah, that's my viewpoint on it.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, it's interesting. So scores then out of 5. Oh god, I hate to ask. Jaxie, what are you gonna give this?
Did I not give this a score already?
You might have done, but I haven't written it down, so I apologize.
You know what? The more I think about it, even if I did give a score, my score is going to be a 3. This is one of my most disliked matches. There's a hint of bitterness, but also, again, going into sort of greater discussion about like Bailey being like in perfect health and just kind of feeling bitter for like her kind of being scolded this moment. Yeah, 3.
Yeah. Monty?
Sorry. What I gave Logan and AJ.
You gave that a 3.5.
Same thing here. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Gina?
Yeah, I'll go for a 3 1/4.
3.25. And I am gonna go for a 4, just to annoy everybody. Predictions, because it changed, right? Because it changed after we did the predictions on the live show. regardless of what was talked about on the chat, these will not be counted. So we will all get a point considering it's
Oh,
WrestleMania.
wow.
So
That's very big of you, James. I appreciate that.
yeah. Well, it's great, isn't it? But
A
still can't
really
stop
sincere
Monty.
thank you. A really sincere thank you. Oh, no, a really sincere thank you. I already kind of feel appreciative of a decision like that.
There's a bigger reason for it, all right? Don't worry about that. I will say as well, it does come down to the main event to see if my decade-long WrestleMania streak ends in the main event. But we're going to do the main event, but we're nearly hitting 3 hours. So I was just thinking maybe we just do the main event of WrestleMania and then everything else, because there's still a shitload to cover. We'll cover that on our anniversary show next week. Would that be fair to everybody? Because again, I don't want to be like Hall of Fame and finish at 10 o'clock in the morning.
I think that sounds good.
Yeah, so I know we got a lot. I've written down a couple of notes. Jaxie's pissed off with Lynch. Gina wants to speak about Randy. So, like I said, we'll pick that up from next week. But we're going to just focus on the main event and try and give everything that we've got. Because I've gone Cody and the rest have gone Cena. But before that, we find out Stone Cold tried to kill a fan. I mean, call me uptight, but I just don't like drink
Not really.
driving.
Not
Austin,
really. It was a Karen. Come on, it was a Karen. We all seen
you think
that.
it was
We
a
all
cat?
seen the evidence.
Seriously, you reckon
We
it
all
was? I
seen
think
the
that's quite
evidence.
hard.
We all seen the evidence.
No, the slow-mo doesn't really show him hitting anybody apart from the
Well,
barrier.
have you seen the fans' view of it? It's fucking hilarious. The fans doing it. You just see Steve Austin coming towards her, and the next second, just boom on the floor. But yeah, Austin came round in ATV and smashed into the barricade. The woman went flying, but Nick Khan was on the scene. 63,226
Hey man,
was
we ain't paying for no lawsuit, guys.
Do you know that, Monty? I mean, fuck me, man. You talk about that PR. Do you know what I mean? That team on the ball there, aren't they?
I know he was promising everything. We got merch for you. We got whatever you need. You want to come to WrestleMania next year already? We'll pay for your ticket next year if you want. Anything, but don't sue us for that.
But you do worry that the crash wasn't a good omen for the main event, you know? The undisputed
Yeah, it's a good point.
WWE Championship Cody Rhodes versus John Cena. Cena entered the arena without on-screen graphics, just a darkened arena with black screens and his name in big white print, a sharp contrast to the colourful entries that defined his previous appearances on the grand stage. Jaxie, we talked about what heel Cena would be, and apparently it's just a black screen with his name on. I mean, should they maybe have done a little bit more, but it's a character.
Yeah, I was trying to think about what direction or at what point John Cena or creative, whoever's decision this was, like what look they were going for. And I guess they're going for this look where, or what I took from it at the very start of this match is John Cena couldn't give a fuck. He's here for one reason, to point up, like prove a point, and that is it. So he couldn't even be bothered to make effort for like an epic entrance, like, you know, that is obviously known with WrestleMania entrances, you know, like he chose to go the opposite way and be like, I couldn't give a fuck what my entrance looks like. And so this is what that screamed, you know, that's what I took from it at least.
Well, like Cody, who arrived with some dudes on dirt bikes. But Monty, I think you pointed out at the time, maybe they weren't allowed to ride down to the ring, considering what had just happened.
Yeah, they who knows what they had planned. They probably supposed to circle the ring too and come back up the ramp. But after what Austin did, they were like, stay the hell away from them people. Y'all ride up there up on the stage and that's it. After that, because yeah, man, I told you, they may have had record gates, but they do not want that record lawsuit.
Yeah, you're right about that. And the last thing before we actually get into the match, Gina, were you surprised about the crowd being split and actually more in favour of Cena than Cody at this point?
No, not really, because regardless, regardless as to what Cena does or says and calls the fans out on, they give him what he wants. He's like, they're all gonna cheer for me, and even when I come out and beat and fight you, Cody, and they did, you know. So in a way, I wasn't really surprised. No.
That's true. Well, Rhodes kicked out of one attitude adjustment and then another, this time delivered off the ropes. Cena with a third attitude adjustment directly into the STFU, a hold that gives me nightmares still. Rhodes fought to the ropes, but Cena pulled him back to the center of the ring. Cue the referee bump, crossroads, and no one there to count the four-way. Cena exposed the turnbuckle and delivered a fourth AA, but there was still no free count. Another ref bump, and then Travis Scott's music hit. Actually, I don't even think the referee was down by the time Travis Scott got down to the ring. he just, the thing I hated it the most, and we'll talk about it, was the fact that what everybody thought was going to happen after Travis Scott's music hit, which didn't, which is obviously the biggest problem, you know. But Cena loved it. I mean, someone had to. He took advantage of the down referee, and he got the championship belt. And Monty, you did mention this about it, but it was so poorly done. After like a tug of war with a title belt, Cody couldn't do it. After hitting Cena low and beating a shit out of him for the past 4 weeks, he couldn't do it in the biggest match of his career. Cena hit a low blow for using the title belt to strike his rival and claim a record-breaking 17th World Championship in WWE. Monty, Mania 40 main event, it definitely wasn't.
Man, you gotta love baby faces, don't you? You just love, don't you love baby faces, everybody? The dude literally told him word for word, you're gonna have to make a choice. And you're not gonna be able to do it. And he literally could not make the choice. And like proved it, like, oh my goodness, that would have been the perfect time for him to actually dick kick him or something and win. Yeah, some people would have questioned you, but at the same time, screw it, you would still be champion. You know, like I don't like that because this is one of the situations where the finish now made Cody look like not only an idiot, but like the fact that skinny Travis Scott is the most. If you could have chose any other wrestler, whether it was Drew, whether whoever, whatever you give me, anybody to come out there and at least give a perceived threat to Cody, and then you still could have had Travis Scott run out there because we know he was gonna have to do it. And then they could have did his mom. He could have took Crossroads and been a part of the distraction. But anything was better than having Travis Scott be the threat. Like I'm like Triple H is Triple H wrestle. How can he think that this is intimidating anybody, or this is making like Cody look good? Having this skinny guy alone be the main reason why you end up getting screwed out of your belt. To me, the match would have been a lot better, James, if they just ended it right off that exposed turnbuckle spot. Mm-hmm. And then that's it. You don't even do the extra shenanigans. I know people want it more, and I understand that completely. And I just want to say this now. For all the people who wanted John to win 17, again, I'm a John Cena guy. I would love for him to win 17. I don't mind. I'm not mad at him getting the achievement. And I'm happy that he's a heel. I get that. But in my opinion, for all those people who are saying, well, if you hated the match, Cena literally told you, I'm going to make you hate professional wrestling. Or Cena already told you, I'm not giving you anything. I don't think that underwhelming ass match and feeling is what he meant. You know, I don't think at the end of the day when he won, the way that everybody just felt like, oh wow, that's it. You mean tell me that's what I was meant to take away from that show? If I would have spent the $1,000 some people spent to sit in those seats, I was supposed to do that in Las Vegas. Like, bro, wipe your mouth. Like, I get it, but like that's not the correct execution. I get it. Sometimes crowds taking over the show. I've been there. I was in New Orleans for Roman versus Brock. I've been there when crowds took over shows, because they weren't interested in the story, they've seen it a billion times, whatever the reason. But for me, the ultimate slap in the face, in my opinion, of the execution of this match was just like what you laid out, James. The crowd could care less about everything that Cody overcame. And then he didn't even overcame halfway as much as what Roman went through to lose the belt the year before. We got this guy, Cody, who's been unstoppable, battled through so much to win the title, just to lose the belt to Travis Scott and what? One low blow or whatever from Cena. And that's it. Even though he can survive 5 other finishers or whatever. Like, the match, in my opinion, made no sense on so many levels. And as happy as I am for Cena to get that achievement, I believe the execution of this match where the babyface looks dumb, and then Cena, who's supposedly the heel, is getting cheered out of the building. People are celebrating everywhere that he's number 17. I'm like, did we really turn him heel then? Why the hell is this? Like, this is not what I wanted to be. I wanted it to be us looking at, like, I wanted a classic like what we like that clip I show all the time with Triple H. That son of a bitch, wow! All that. I wanted more of that type of
Yeah.
energy for my heel John Cena. But that's not what we're getting. We got Michael freaking Cole here instead of Wade Barrett was the only one upset, John. Explain that to me. Why is Wade Barrett the only one upset? While Pat and Michael Cole talk about say what you want, but he's the greatest of all time. That is not what the hell you're supposed to be saying when he's winning like this and screwing. That make Cody look even stupider. Like you fighting for these people.
To be fair to Wade, I think he and I went wrong with our predictions, so maybe that's.
Oh no, 100%. Wade was biased. Wade was biased against Cena, but that's my point. He was the only one with the energy of somebody who understood what Cena has became to do that. And that's all I'm trying to say. Yes, they made Cody look stupid, but at the same time, Cena is still supposed to be the bad guy. But you know what? Because of how dumb they made Cody look, after a while, it's like, I can't even be mad at the people for celebrating him and like that because he looks so stupid. I just don't like the execution at all. He's been your guy for all of this time. He's supposed to be the future or at least the face going forward, I thought. And that's the way you choose to execute it. It was bad to me. I really did not like this match.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, again, not trying to go back predictions, but I thought, like I said, if Final Boss not going to get rolled or anything like this, Cody winning might have made a little bit more sense because it made him so stupid. Yes, Cena's got 17, but what damage has this done to Cody? People might say, oh, no damage, but there's going to be a little something, isn't there? A lot of people will say this was the worst WrestleMania main event. I don't think it was. I've seen worse. Monty, you basically saying it wasn't done to be bad on purpose, But again,
right.
Gina, I was going to ask you this. It wouldn't surprise me if it was like what they're trying to do to save themselves now is, oh yeah, we tried to make it look really bad because, like Monty was saying, that scene is gimmick.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what they're trying to play into now because they know that they're not pleasing the fans either way. But regardless, it's just not working. Like, not really, as in we all kind of expected this. I think the biggest disappointment is, having involvement with Rocky at Elimination Chamber and then hearing jack shit from him afterwards, and it's just been that, even if he just came out and stood at the top of the ring, the ramp and just pointed and Travis Scott walks down into this thing, that would have even made a significant difference just in having him there, because what was the whole point of the Elimination Chamber angle without having any conclusion as to the Rock's play in all of this, and Cena selling his soul sort of thing. So yeah, again, I think it just left more confusion really for where it will go from here, whether the Rock will still turn up at some point or whether he'll just steer clear of this now. I think there's just still questions up in the air about that, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, isn't it, Jaxie? When we talk about this matchup, everybody watching it thought The Rock was going to show up. And for him to not show up to cost Cody, because it's always about bigger story, that would have been the biggest story that they had, And instead now it's like,
Yeah.
I've seen it, but it's weakened Cody.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think it would have been much more impactful that way. I mean, again, it really doesn't say much when you have the rapper who has made the theme for it. I think it's Raw mainly, where or is it across WWE now? I'm not entirely sure, but a rapper who really has come into this business just a fan, not only at Elimination Chamber, injured, you're at that moment in time world champion, in an unexpected sort of turn of events, but also still have the storyline be as impactful as it was, just to then sort of flake out with a WrestleMania finish, the way it was the way the whole impact came about, from the music dropping to no follow up to what everyone expected, to also just realizing the same rapper who ridiculously injured our world champion also now just cost him the match. What are we doing here with Cody? Are we going into a full-on feud with just a rapper now? Or is this what we're doing? It kind of depletes the whole build up to sort of him finishing the story. And I know that some people want to say differently maybe about like that and the way that he's lost it. But again, you can't really follow up much when The Rock has actually just turned around after and got held his hands up and gone, hey, there's nothing more that I need to do with this, so this is like me done. Like, you started this, bro. What the fuck do you mean you're done? So again, this would have been the moment that I would have swapped this match for night one opening match, Jay and Gunther, or night two opening match, the women's triple threat. Either one of those two would have been much more impactful in that spot at the main event, and both like kind of deserved it, rightly so. Even more so, Charlotte and Tiffany, or Jay and Gunther. Back to my point of what is the significance of winning the Royal Rumble when you get your main event taken away, spot taken away from you like that, just to have something that's kind of really depleting a storyline or a finish as what we got. So sadly, this should not have like been placed on night two of the main event, because in all honesty, it just left me angry at that main event. And I'm kind of glad that being based in the UK, I ended up watching that like the next day, so that I didn't actually stay up and lose a lot more sleep over like sort of that outcome of the finish. It was just a bit bittersweet. Like, I called this right from the start, and I feel like this really like sort of played out. I obviously thought there would be interruption from The Rock and not Travis Scott, but it was a predictable storyline that I didn't think needed the end of night two slot.
Yeah.
So
Without a doubt. And like I said, Cena's 17th in his last WrestleMania. I mean, I should have really seen it. There's no bigger place for Cena to win it. But what's more incredible is this is his first win in 7 years as well. So he has bucked the trend there, I suppose. Out of 5 for the main event, Monty, what would you give it?
I give it 3 3/4. Uh, Also, side note, Cody was slowing himself down to keep up with Cena. I'm
Oh,
glad
yeah,
this is
Cena.
this is
Yeah.
his last year, by the way. So
That's
yeah,
an excellent
salute
point.
for
That's an excellent point.
17.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see Cody slowed himself down to try to keep up to make Cena look better. So
there was
again, in a lot of ways,
definitely
and like Cody is so selfless for this, in my opinion. If you think about how crazy this actually looks.
that were recorded where like what a move John Cena produced, like Cody overselling, but it actually worked well, but because of Cody oversold. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, so like yeah, shout out to Cody for being like same way Seth Rollins was selfless last year. Cody,
yeah,
you deserve some love for putting up with this because I
for
don't know,
sure.
man. Like Hogan might have walked out, Jay. He would have put his foot down about this decision.
He really would. Right. So, Gina, what would you give it?
I think a 3 3/4 also goes well for this.
And Jaxie?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm giving it a 3 1/4 at best.
I'm giving it a 3 because, as you mentioned, I was the fucker up at 4 o'clock in the morning crying about what had just happened. I was like the Becky Lynch fan. So I'm going to give it a 3. Predictions, the final scores. Well, this is quite incredible. James on 4, Jaxie, Monty, Gina on 6, because I went, obviously, Cody, the rest went Cena. So the streak is over. But what's more impressive is all 3 of you beat me. So well done, guys. I suppose at least it took
Beat it.
3 people to beat
I
me.
beat him without the G fight. Without the G
GG.
fight. I
I mean,
gave that shit
Wow.
back.
correct me if I'm wrong, but I also believe that this might be my first actual Mania win of a pay-per-view.
Oh, I don't care. My streak's ended. I'm trying to
Right?
be
I don't
nice.
mind.
I
Well,
think it's all of ours. I don't know. But what I
GG
will
for the
say is
draw, but
read the final WWE score, Jack, because I'm the greatest of all time.
oh, shut up, Monty. Okay, I'm kind of trying to give us GGs, but I'm also trying to flaunt how proud I am, because I think this is definitely my first feat. Let me have that moment.
it's
well,
also my first win though for WrestleMania, so it's mine too.
to be fair, Gina,
Exactly. Yeah.
you were the first person to beat me over one night. That was last year. You beat me on a Saturday. We drew on a Sunday. So yeah, you are the person to beat me 3 times over WrestleMania, I suppose. So that is a little saying, Kels.
Yay. Wait.
But it also means because all of you, well done, won WrestleMania both nights, you both get all get a bonus point as well. So it means Gina, you've gone to 9 points on bonus, Jaxie on 11, 1 point behind me on 12, and Monty on 14.
Who that? Oh, okay.
Yeah. But also, incredibly, WWE Prediction League, I'm on 1.
Mm,
Gina, you're now on 3. And
mm.
Monty and Jaxie are both on 4. So they are
I'm the
in the
greatest of
lead
all
there.
time.
Oh,
Nice.
yeah.
I'm the
Mm.
greatest of all time.
This is giving me a good boost.
I'm on top of
Yeah.
the bonus. I'm on top of the AEW. I'm on top of the WWE. Man, hey, bro, I'm retired.
Yeah, nah, I
Even
said
you without
I was
even
going to
trying
do
right
much
now, boy.
better. I definitely said I was going to do much better towards the end of last year about this year. So I'm really proud with how I've come.
What happened
Let's
to
go.
you,
Let's
Jam?
go.
What
Right. Well done,
happened to you?
guys. Mm.
What happened to you, man? I used to look up to you in this prediction stuff. What happened to you? Such a bum
Look,
now.
I
Oh my
can't
goodness.
help. I can't help if all my knowledge and skill has seeped into you guys after us being together for 5 years. It's either that
Something happened.
or I just haven't got a fucking clue. Literally, I'm second last and last when it comes to the prediction leagues. Who
Must be
knows?
washed up right now.
I don't know, man. It's bad. If it, literally, if this was, if it's anything else, it would be my retirement year. All right, that's what it is. December's going to be the end. But over overall, not many fireworks for entrances or anything like that. So night 2 scores. Just for night 2, this is at the moment. The match of the night's going to be the women's. We all know that. So Jaxie, what's your rating out of 10 just for night 2 and your MVP, please?
Uh, uh, it's difficult because I feel like the very first half of night two was just so uplifting. There were so many sort of like shout outs and really good like matches. But then the latter half, beginning from AJ Styles on match onwards, just really just ended up lacking, and there was sheer disappointment. Um, I think I'm gonna go overall with 8.5 for night two. I think that's actually still giving it a pretty good score, to be honest, because I still think the wrestlers like produced really good work, but I just think creatively it was half and half. So that's the best I could do.
Yeah.
MVP. Um, I'm gonna have to give it to all three women in the triple threat at the very beginning. They bossed it. I'll give it a special shout out to Drew McIntyre just for like and even Damian Priest for their street fight. But overall MVPs, it has to be all three of them. I think they just did brilliantly in the opening match. It was a 5-star match for sure.
Yeah. Gina, what was your score for night 2?
I'm also gonna go with 8.5 for night 2. And yeah, I'm gonna do the same. All three women deserve the MVPs because the match was just awesome.
Yeah. Monty?
Yeah, it's so weird to have a show where it started off on a trajectory is like one of the greatest, and then it kind of steep. But we did end up with like 4 positive things, and then like 3 not so good ones. So you still kind of got to ration that out and be like, okay, did I enjoy it better than night one? Yes, in some ways I did. But at the same time, do I penalize it for the main event? Like I said, leaving me just feeling like, wow, was that it? So I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm gonna go with 8.25. I'm gonna say night one. I'm gonna give night one the edge because I feel like it started great and then it finished great, and then night two started incredible, but then they let me down. That's
Yeah.
the way I think about it.
I would agree with you there. MVP? Did we say that? I can't remember.
Sorry. I don't know how you can watch it and not go with EO or like one of the women. Like I don't think you're wrong. I think EO definitely deserves.
Yeah. Well, I went Dom and Drew just to be different, but like I said, the women's match was definitely the match of the night. And now finally, like I said, Jax, this is your 5th. Monty, Gene, is your 4th Manias. This is my 10th. So we're going to rate it overall now in the list of great WrestleManias. And I'm going to give it a 9. It wasn't a bad show, but again, I suppose after the main event of last year and everything that happened, it's a shame that Paul Heyman and Travis Scott were responsible for the winners in the main events this year. But still not a bad WrestleMania. So 9 overall. Jaxie, what's your overall score?
Yeah, I agree. trying to like think across both nights and what they produced. Like I still think like the good matches outweigh the bad criticisms I had over across the span of both nights. So I think 9 is a pretty good score to give it as a whole.
Yep. Monty?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm a little harsher because I just think overall it didn't. Sometimes about it, it didn't really feel like WrestleMania. Not only from the matches perspective, but to me, I don't know. Maybe it was just this year. But like you kind of mentioned it, James, like the pageantry of WrestleMania used to be so evident, in every way. And I do think some gears and certain interests were that way, but I also think some interests wasn't really well executed or really that special. I know John Cena's was kind of by design. I kind of liked his. That was different. I didn't really care. I understood why they did that, but I don't know the pageantry of it all. It didn't really feel like Mania sometimes. I'm gonna give it 8.5 overall. Just stay there. But like you said, the highs were really high, and then some of the lows were dumbfounding.
Yeah. And finally, Gina?
Um, yeah, I'll give it a 9. I'll give it a 9. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, give it a 9. So that's it. Like I said, I think we've done nearly like 3.5 hours. It's been ridiculous. I do apologise. So we're going to leave it there. We'll pick up on the anniversary show, which is next Sunday. And do you know, guys, next Sunday, May the 4th, would have been exactly 10 years since we released the very first WNR podcast. So that would be quite fun to do. Of course, talk about Mania and everything. Talk about, I'll just do quickly Triple H as well. Finally, WrestleMania weekend for us was our most successful WrestleMania ever. Over 10,000 listened to us over the 2 shows that we did. We had over 65,000 views, 70,000 impressions, record watch time, and we are getting closer to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube as well. So just like to thank everybody to subscribe and liked and listened and interacted with us over WrestleMania weekend. But more importantly, I just like to thank the team as well, Monty, Gina, and Jaxie. I couldn't do without you. And WrestleMania this year was a huge success, even if the matches didn't deliver.
Yeah, it's
Anyway.
been fun for sure.
Yeah, so that is it. All right. Don't forget, we've got all social media, X at the WNR Podcast, I'm at the WNR Pod James. You can find the entire WNR team on the banner. Also now on Blue Sky, WNR Podcast, and Reddit. Monty, where can people find and follow you?
At MindMasterCard on Twitter, aka the greatest prediction man of all time.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Jaxie?
Yeah, I'm across Instagram, X, and Twitch at Jaxie Scarlett.
And Gina?
Yep, you can find me at the same at Purple Pain.
Dublin also on Facebook and Instagram. Send us an email to dublinpodcast at gmail.com. YouTube, Dublin Podcast, got the same time on YouTube do SoundCloud on your phone. Also, Spotify and iTunes, where you can download, subscribe, rate, and review there. So that is it. Our next episode, like I said, is the WNR 10th anniversary show. We're talking about WrestleMania. I'm going to do a WNR podcast quiz. So I hope you guys have been paying attention and so much more. But until then, I've been Joe Volans, and I was joined by the fantastic Jaxie Scarlett. Jaxie, well done for a WrestleMania win, and it's looking good for you in the bonus leagues as well.
I mean, things have been looking up so far. I don't want to jinx things, but so far we're doing really well. We'll see how things go.
No doubt. And of course, the mind of Monty. Well done, Monty. That's all I'm going to say.
The greatest of all time. I told you I was gonna beat you, and I did it. Try again next year, man.
Yeah,
Adios.
I'll try again. And of course, the genius of Gina. Well done, Gina. G-Site just beat that Monty. Between you and me, he's getting a bit full of himself.
Yeah, I got to try and creep back up there to the top. But no, it was still fun. I really enjoyed these 2 nights, probably because I got to spend it with you guys as well. So yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, perfect. So that is it. The streak is done. But I won't cry it's over. I'll just smile because it happened. Thanks for listening, everybody, and bye.